Chapter 337. 337 Chapter 337 Dragon Fist Sect. These middle-aged women were originally from the Blue Spirit West Palace, Nangong and Beigong. There were also two from the Tian Shao Empire who had monitored Shao Yuelon. Now, they had all joined the Violet Spirit Star Palace. They were martial Dao realm cultivators. Even in the Violet Spirit Star Palace, their status was very high. As for Qin Yun, he wanted them to kneel down and admit their wrongs. How could they agree? The middle-aged woman who had been sent flying was also supported over. Half of her face had been beaten black and she was dizzy. She was in a semi-conscious state. Qin Yun, aren't you being too arrogant? Don't think that just because you have two martial spirits, you can be so presumptuous. We are not as weak as those trash from your Blue Spirit Star Palace. I'll count to 2. If you don't kneel down and admit your wrongs to Sister Lan, I'll make my move. Qin Yun said coldly. 1, 2. After he finished counting, a black gas suddenly surged out from his body and enveloped the middle-aged women. Following that, the earth began to shake. Qin Yun's eyes turned pitch black. He had used the power of the vibration martial spirit. Those evil women were also at the first level of the martial Dao. They were enveloped by this vibrating force and their bodies were constantly being pressed by the explosive force. Immediately, they spat out mouthfuls of blood. Kneel! Qin Yun roared angrily as the ground shook. The arrogant women all screamed as they knelt on the ground, crushing the stone tiles on the ground. When the disciples saw this scene, they could not help but be terrified. A few powerful seniors were actually forced to their knees and vomit blood by the internal energy released by Qin Yun. Scram! Qin Yun waved his hand and slapped them, sending them flying far away. Following that, he carried Lan Fengjin and flew towards the Eastern Palace's mysterious Silver Mountain. He entered a cave at the top of the mountain. Lan Fengjin sat on a chair and looked at the hall. She said excitedly, "Master, you really passed the trial of the inscription gate. I really didn't expect it. Unfortunately, Grandfather has already headed to the Cloud Dragon mountain range, and might even go to the Martial Desolate." Qin Yun smiled. "Sister Lan, you will be my disciple from now on and also a disciple of the inscription gate. Don't worry about that Violet Spirit Star Palace. The Violet Spirit Star Palace is actually not bad. There were a few wicked women who were jealous of me, that's why they treated me like that." Lan Fengjin coldly snorted. "In short, I have you as my master. I will not acknowledge anyone else as my master." "Yuelon, Ziyi and teacher, are they all in the Violet Spirit Star Palace?" Qin Yun asked worriedly. Lan Fengjin nodded. "Yes. Shuyue's injuries are very serious. The injuries of the Purple Gold Moon martial spirit are very serious. The people from the Violet Spirit Star Palace can cure her, but there is a price, and that is to stay in the Violet Spirit Star Palace. Yuelon and Zai are both outstanding female disciples. They were taken away a long time ago. I heard that they were personally taught by the Violet Spirit Palace Master." Qin Yun paced back and forth in the hall. Did the Grand Palace Master really go to the Cloud Dragon mountain range? He went with Grandfather. They said that they were going to investigate the Immortal Graveyard. If they don't come back, they might have gone to the Martial Desolate Land. Lan Fengjin said. Suddenly, a series of shouts came from outside. Qin Yun listened carefully. It was Shui Yihui's voice. He hurriedly walked out and landed on the ground. Shui Yihui, the palace master of the Eastern Palace, and a dozen or so martial Dao realm elders were all there. They looked at Qin Yun in astonishment. Qin Yun, you have become the sect master of the inscription gate? Shui Yihui took a deep breath and asked in surprise. Qin Yun took out a jade pendant and said, "I've obtained this. I wonder if it's a keepsake for the sect master?" When they saw the jade pendant, Shui Yihui and company took a few deep breaths. "Greetings, sect master." Shui Ihue hurriedly bowed and shouted respectfully. The other elders of the martial Dao realm also bowed to Qin Yun. The sect master of the inscription gate actually had such a status. Even Qin Yun himself was somewhat surprised. Everyone, there's no need to be polite. What's the situation with the Blue Spirit Star Palace now? Qin Yun said with a frown, Grand Palace Master, how long have you been at the Cloud Dragon Mountain Range? The Blue Spirit Star Palace has already been merged into the Violet Spirit Star Palace. They sent people to manage it, and the Eastern Palace is still managed by Palace Master Ling. Shui Ihui looked at the old lady beside him. Palace Head Ling was also a woman, so she was directly accepted as a disciple by the Violet Spirit Star Palace. In the Violet Spirit Star Palace, she was also an elder. Then, am I, the sect leader of the inscription sect, considered to be from the Violet Spirit Star Palace? Qin Yun asked. Forget it. However, there should be other preferential treatment. The Violet Spirit Star Palace also knows the importance of the inscription gate. Palace Master Ling said, Sect Master Qin, the Violet Spirit Palace Master has sent a letter for you. Palace Lord Ling handed Qin Yun a letter. Qin Yun opened it and read the content. It was a letter from the Violet Spirit Palace Master. First, he sincerely apologized to Lan Fengjin. Then, he invited him to the Violet Spirit Star Palace to discuss some matters and asked him to bring Lan Fengjin there. Have you seen Palace Master Violet Spirit before? How is his character? Asked Qin Yun. You're quite polite. When she was in the martial desolate land, she was also a good person. Lan Fengjin's matter this time was all because of those evil women who acted on their own. They will also be severely punished. Palace Head Ling said, If you want to go to the Violet Spirit Star Palace, I can take you there. Those evil women were originally the more snobbish ones in the Blue Spirit Star Palace. If they found an opportunity to attack Lan Fengjin, they would naturally not be lenient. Qin Yun also wanted to meet Xiao Yuelan. He nodded and said, All right, I'll go with Sister Lan. He flew up and brought Lan Fengjin down. After resting, Lan Fengjin's complexion had improved a lot. She had also changed into a beautiful purple dress. Qin Yun, Lan Fengjin and Palace Head Ling sat in a carriage as they headed for the Violet Spirit Star Palace. The Violet Spirit Star Palace was only a few hundred miles away from the Blue Spirit Star Palace. They would be able to reach it very quickly. Qin Yun was in the carriage. He opened the window and saw the Violet Spirit Star Palace below. It looked to be about the same size as the Blue Spirit Star Palace, but it was completely purple. The magnificent building inside was made of sparkling purple crystals. It was very dazzling. Palace Head Ling's status was still relatively high. She was able to directly fly her carriage into the Violet Spirit Star Palace and land in a noisy plaza. In this plaza, there were many people surrounding the battling platform. On the battling platform, an extremely intense battle was taking place. When Qin Yun and company got off the carriage, they saw a woman dressed in purple on the battling platform. She was sparring with a man dressed in gold. These two people were both martial artists at the 9th level martial body realm. Palace Head Ling, what's going on? Who are the disciples of the Violet Spirit Star Palace competing with? Qin Yun asked. The disciples of the Dragon Fist sect. Palace Head Ling said, the Violet Spirit Star Palace, the Dragon Fist sect, the Wind Spirit sect and the Floating Spirit Valley. These 4 sects have descended on this border area together. These 4 sects are all spirit level sect. They are all subordinate forces of a Xian level sect. They were sent here to investigate the situation in the Immortal Graveyard. Now they are letting their disciples compete in martial arts to fight for leadership. Although these sects are all subordinate forces of a mystic sect, they often engage in all kinds of battles. Qin Yun did not find it strange. The family clans and factions in an empire also had intense struggles. He was only surprised that 4 powerful sects had suddenly descended here. It could be seen that the martial desolate land placed great importance on the immortal graveyard. As for the immortal graveyard, there was a great secret hidden within. It had a lot to do with Siekir. The purple-clothed woman on the martial stage suddenly screamed as she was sent flying and crashed into the array pillar of the martial stage. Ha ha ha! Little girl, I won't kill you just like that. I have to play with you first. The burly man from the Dragon Fist sect laughed sinisterly as he walked towards the purple-clothed woman. The purple-clothed woman's face was deathly pale, and her face was filled with terror and despair. She closed her eyes, and her face was covered in tears. Qin Yun frowned and said, "Is this a life-and-death battle?" Palace Headling sighed. "In the time it takes for an incense stick to burn, whoever survives on the battling platform will be the victor. During this period of time, the Great Formation will not be closed, so we can only allow the people inside to do whatever they want. This kind of competition has always been like this, it's extremely cruel." Lan Fengjin frowned and said, "I've heard of it but I've never seen it before. I never thought that in order to fight for the leadership of the sect, a disciple would be sacrificed. This is too cruel." With a ripping sound, the clothes on the purple-clothed woman were torn apart by the wretched man, leaving only her undergarment. "Could it be that this guy is going to rape that woman on the spot?" Qin Yun said with a frown. His voice was filled with anger. "It should be. But no one can stop him." Palace Headling's face was also filled with anger. The disciples watching the battle were all from the 4 sections. Other than the female disciples of the Violet Spirit Star Palace, the male disciples of the other sects all had faces full of anticipation. They cheered excitedly and urged the wretched man to hurry up and make his move. Qin Yun was infuriated. He immediately soared into the air and flew over. "Bastard, quickly stop!" Qin Yun floated in the air above the battling platform and roared. A few martial Dao realm elders who were supervising the competition also suddenly flew over. "Who are you? Do you want to cause trouble?" a golden-robed elder asked angrily. The golden clothes on his body were the same as the wretched man on the battling platform. "He should be a martial artist of the Dragon Fist sect," Qin Yun said angrily. "Did you not see what that beast is doing?" Below, many of the female disciples of the Violet Spirit Star Palace saw a handsome and valiant youth suddenly step forward. At the same time they were surprised, they were also filled with reverence. They had never known what a hero was, but when they saw Qin Yun, they seemed to understand what a hero looked like. This is a martial arts competition, a life-and-death battle. When the old man sensed Qin Yun's aura, he was somewhat alarmed. However, when he saw how young Qin Yun was, he did not think much of it. "Don't insult the martial arts competition. I've never heard of anyone doing such a thing to a beast during a martial arts competition." Qin Yun's eyes were filled with anger and killing intent as he said in a deep voice. When the woman on the battling platform saw that someone was standing up for her, she was extremely touched. However, she was still in despair because only by breaking the array formation on the battling platform would she be able to save her. The wretched man on the battling platform laughed sinisterly and said, "That bastard up there, you've never seen anyone do such a happy thing on the battling platform, right? Then I'll do it for you right now, ha ha. If you want to save this slut, you have to break the formation first." This kind of formation would not close until it consumed all the energy it had put in. Even the spirit martial realm can't easily close it. Ha ha. Just open your eyes wide and watch how happy I am. Damn bitch, why are you crying? In any case, you will be killed by me sooner or later, so you might as well be killed by me. Chapter 338 338 Chapter 338 Zi Qingqing Qin Yun clenched his fists tightly as he looked at the burly man below. His heart was infuriated to the extreme. The female disciples of the Violet Spirit Star Palace could not help but close their eyes when they saw their fellow disciples being beaten up. Furthermore, they were about to be brutally humiliated. Uncle, quickly leave. The people from the Dragon Fist sect are very vicious. They will take revenge on you. When the woman on the battling platform saw Qin Yun's furious expression, she was worried that Qin Yun would act impulsively and attack here. She hurriedly tried to persuade him. The group of women below also tried to persuade Qin Yun to leave quickly so that he wouldn't be hated by the people from the Dragon Fist sect. Uncle, I accept my fate. I am satisfied that you can stand up for me. The woman shouted again when she saw that Qin Yun was indifferent. Her skirt was torn, revealing a pair of bruised thighs. The woman gritted her teeth and cried. As for the wretched middle-aged man, he grimaced and grinned sinisterly. He was incomparably ugly. The incense stick at the bottom of the battling platform had only burned half of it. Only when it was completely burned would the great formation automatically close. Big brother, hurry up and leave. Don't clash with the people from the Dragon Fist sect. Big brother, we, the disciples of the Violet Spirit Star Palace, will be very grateful to you. We are very grateful to you for having such intentions. After all, no one could save that woman. If Qin Yun were to clash with the Dragon Fist sect again, it would not be worth it. Ha ha ha, little girl, I will let you die comfortably. The wretched man laughed maniacally. The male disciples also opened their eyes wide and looked on with great anticipation, shouting non-stop. Big guy, hurry up and get on top of her. Don't dawdle. The Violet Spirit Star Palace's shameless bastards are so aloof. We must kill them. The group of people below jeered. The old man floating in the air also smiled as he watched, stroking his beard. Suddenly, the earth shook. Everyone immediately cried out involuntarily. Qin Yun, who had been gathering his strength, took a deep breath as black gas surged from his body. The vibration martial spirit in his body roared with rage. The invisible vibration power shook the earth and released its rage. Boom! Qin Yun suddenly charged down from the sky. The heavenly lion's arm exploded with purple-gold lightning and fire. The furious lion's roar echoed out and the sound waves whistled across the horizon, causing the wind and clouds to surge. Roar! Qin Yun's fist exploded with purple-gold lightning fire. It transformed into a ferocious and mighty gigantic purple-gold lion head. It was filled with might as it charged into an array pillar. Rumble! The top of the pillar was struck by Qin Yun's furious lion fist and immediately shattered. The shattered rocks, along with the shock wave, caused the disciples of the Dragon Fist Spirit sect near the battling platform to be riddled with bloody holes. In order to see the wretched man humiliate the purple-clothed woman, these disciples all rushed forward and chased the disciples of the Violet Spirit Star Palace to the back. And now, they have also been hit by Qin Yun's vibration storm and all of them are seriously injured. The battle stage's formation had been destroyed. Furthermore, it was broken so violently. Qin Yun stood on the stage and looked at the vulgar man. He said coldly, "Your existence has already insulted the martial Tao. I'm lucky enough to become a martial artist, so I can't let scum like you disgrace the spirit of martial arts. I can't let you trample on martial arts. You can go and die now." With that said, Qin Yun punched out with the superb flaming light fist. A blazing flame filled with the power of justice entered the wretched man's body and burned him to ashes. "You! Who are you? How dare you? How dare you interfere in this kind of martial arts competition?" The old man from the Dragon Fist Spirit sect who was floating in the air was also stunned. After being shocked, he roared angrily. The more than 10,000 people around the battling platform also sucked in a breath of cold air. Someone had really broken through that sturdy formation and even killed the martial artists on it. Qin Yun took off his black robe and covered the injured woman. He said softly, "My robe has high-grade light runes engraved on it. It can help you recover quickly." Following that, Lan Fengjin also flew over to protect the woman. When the female disciples of the Violet Spirit Star Palace saw Qin Yun's broad and sturdy back, they could not help but feel a sense of worship. They were very excited, but most of them were worried. They were worried that the heroes on the battling platform would be punished. "Uncle, thank you." The female disciple who had been saved had tears in her eyes as she said gratefully. Qin Yun looked at her and smiled. "Don't call me uncle, I'm only 18 years old. I'm even younger than you." What? Below the martial stage there was an uproar. Such a powerful figure was actually only 18 years old. This caused the eyes of many of the female disciples of the Violet Spirit Star Palace to flash with stars. Immediately, a deep sense of love rose in their hearts. "You. Quickly answer me, who exactly are you?" The old man was ignored by Qin Yun. He was even more furious. At that moment, the martial Dao realm cultivators from the other sects had also surrounded him. Qin Yun said indifferently, "A villain like you is not worthy of knowing my name. If I let you know my name, I would feel that it's an insult. Hurry up and ck off. Just looking at you makes my eyes hurt. Brat, you're courting death." The old man was instantly enraged. He fiercely punched out, and the ferocious power of the great Tao shot out like the roar of a dragon. The Dragon Fist Spirit Sect's strongest technique was the Dragon Fist art. The punch was fast and ferocious, but in Qin Yun's eyes, it was very slow. "The one courting death is you." Qin Yun snorted disdainfully and punched out. The power of the great Tao immediately exploded out, causing the entire battling platform to collapse. Qin Yun's fist trembled as he mixed the dense internal supreme force with the power of the great Tao and gathered it. Then, coupled with a totem martial art like the Heavenly Lion's lightning force, the power was extremely terrifying. The old man never expected that Qin Yun would actually exchange blows with him. Boom! The Dragon Fist and Lion Fist collided, and the dragon and lion roared. The two great Tao energies shattered the large plaza. The terrifying aftermath even swept up a hurricane. "Ah!" The old man let out a blood-curdling scream. The arm he used to punch was broken at the shoulder, and his upper body was covered in blood. An old man of the martial Tao realm was actually defeated by an 18-year-old youth with a single punch. "Fine, since you're courting death, I'll tell you my name. This way, when you see the King of Hell, you can also tell him who killed you. Tell him not to thank me. Listen up, my name is Qin Yun. I'm the sect master of the Blue Spirit Star Palace's Inscription Gate." Qin Yun could sense the other party's intense killing intent. He took 2 steps forward and used his hand as a blade to execute the 6-style Wind Slayer, chopping the old man into pieces that burned with purple flames. The elder of the martial Tao realm was dead. After the calm and tranquil square, everyone was stunned. The few old men in charge of supervising the competition were also shocked as they looked at Qin Yun in shock. They didn't dare to go over. At this moment, they also knew who the person who had suddenly appeared was. It was the famous Qin Yun of Blue Spirit Star Palace. Qin Yun had mastered the art of soul refining, was a high-ranked inscription master, and had stepped into the martial Tao realm before the age of 20. Furthermore, he had dual martial spirits, dual Tao cores and dual totems. No matter which one it was, even in the martial desolate land, he was a rare genius, not to mention that all of them were on him. Blue Spirit Star Palace has merged with the Violet Spirit Star Palace. Even if you are the sect master of the Inscription Gate, you are still a part of the Violet Spirit Star Palace. But now, you have destroyed the martial arts competition that our 4 sects have agreed upon. How are you going to take responsibility? An old woman from the Drifting Spirit Valley took a deep breath and asked loudly. Qin Yun laughed loudly and said, "Responsible? I am a member of the Violet Spirit Star Palace, so I naturally have to be responsible for the disciples of my sect." I can't just watch as a disciple of my Violet Spirit Star Palace is humiliated in public. Saving her is the same as being responsible. Killing the person who wants to humiliate her is also a responsibility. Scram back and tell your sect leader. Our Violet Spirit Star Palace disdains cooperating with a mob like you. There's no need for this martial arts competition. Even if we obtain the leadership, we will give up. We don't want to lead you bunch of animals. The disciples and seniors of the Wind Spirit Sect, Floating Spirit Valley and Dragon Fist Sect were infuriated when they heard Qin Yun's words. However, none of them dared to breathe loudly. In the martial desolate land, they knew very well how terrifying a totem martial artist who had stepped into the martial Dao realm was. Not to mention a martial artist with 2 martial spirits and 2 totems. The disciples of the Dragon Fist Sect were the most injured and also the most heavily injured. However, they deserved it. At this moment, a voice came from the distant sky. All of you go back. If you have any dissatisfaction, ask your sect leader to come here and discuss it with me. I, Zi Qingqing, will definitely give them a satisfactory answer. The voice that suddenly sounded was ethereal and agile. Amidst the gentleness, there was a trace of power that no one dared to resist. Zi Qingqing was the Violet Spirit Star Palace of the Violet Spirit Star Palace. Palace Master of the Violet Spirit Palace, we will report this matter to the sect leader. An old man snorted coldly and left with his injured disciple. The disciples of the various sects quickly left. Many of them even ran away. This was because Qin Yun's domineering killing intent was simply too terrifying. Only the female disciples of the Violet Spirit Star Palace were left. They could not help but discuss in low voices as they looked at the handsome Qin Yun with an extraordinary bearing. He's Xiao Yuelan's husband. He is indeed not simple. He's truly a dragon amongst men. Moreover, he's filled with justice and he's also very good-looking. I heard that in order to save Yang Shiryu, he engaged in a great battle that shook the heavens and the earth. It's unbelievable that such a genius could be born in this border region that is lacking in resources. Some of the female disciples approached, wanting to see Qin Yun's appearance clearly. When Qin Yun saw them approaching, he smiled. Don't call me big brother or uncle in the future. You're making me old. This caused the girls to burst into laughter. Many of the female disciples also went to pay their respects to the injured female disciple. Lan Fengjin said in a low voice, "She's fine now. Thank you." Sect leader Qin. The woman's face was flushed red as she returned the black robe to Qin Yun. After Qin Yun put it on, he glanced at the nearby Palace Master Ling. Before Palace Master Ling brought Qin Yun here, she would never have imagined that Qin Yun would actually kill a martial Dao realm cultivator here. Qin Yun, come to the Qingqing Pavilion. I want to talk to you. Zi Qingqing's voice suddenly sounded again. The female disciples immediately cried out. The Qingqing Pavilion is the Palace Master's most private place. Men are never allowed to enter. The Palace Master has made an exception to allow Sect Master Qin to enter. How rare! Chapter 339. Being tied up. When Qin Yun heard the discussions of the female disciples, he knew that Zi Qingqing attached great importance to him. Otherwise, she would not have invited him to the Qingqing Pavilion. Palace Master Violet Spirit, let me ask you, why didn't you save our sect's disciples just now? Qin Yun did not immediately agree. Instead, he coldly questioned, I was originally a disciple of Blue Spirit Star Palace. Now that I have merged with your Violet Spirit Star Palace, I have also become a part of you. However, when you saw that your sect's disciples were about to be humiliated, you didn't do anything to save them. I don't want to see an irresponsible palace master like you. The female disciples of the Violet Spirit Star Palace immediately fell silent as they secretly exclaimed in their hearts, They were very surprised that Qin Yun dared to speak to their palace master in such a manner. However, their hearts felt warm because Qin Yun was very concerned about the disciples of their sect. Zi Qingqing's voice did not come for a long time. It was obvious that she did not know how to reply. After a long while, Zi Qingqing's light and ethereal voice slowly sounded. I was wrong. I, Zi Qingqing, hereby apologize to the disciples of the Violet Spirit Star Palace. I guarantee that this will never happen again. I will definitely cherish the disciples of my sect in the future. You didn't even show your face. Your apology is insincere, Qin Yun said with dissatisfaction. The disciples of the Violet Spirit Star Palace were very surprised to be able to make Zi Qingqing apologize. They also forgave their palace master in their hearts. However, Qin Yun felt that it was not sincere enough. I have some reasons right now, so I can't leave the Qingqing Pavilion for the time being. When I get out, I will definitely apologize to the disciples in person. Zi Qingqing faintly sighed and asked, Can you come to Qingqing Pavilion now? I'll wait for you at the inscription gate. Qin Yun's answer was very shocking. It was rare for the Violet Spirit Palace master to invite a man to her Qingqing Pavilion, but he was rejected time and time again. Although Zi Qingqing did not show her face, everyone could guess that she must have a dumbfounded expression on her face. Qin Yun continued, That's your territory and you are at the spirit realm. I'm worried that you are plotting against me. So, you should come to my inscription gate. Everyone didn't know whether to laugh or cry. It was as if they could see Zi Qingqing flipping the table. Sect leader Qin, aren't you worried too much? How could Palace Master Violet Spirit possibly plot against you? Palace Master Ling hurriedly whispered. What's impossible about it? I have 2 martial spirits, 2 totems, and I am also the inscription sect's sect leader. I have mastered high-level inscriptions and my looks are unparalleled. There are many people who have improper thoughts about me, so of course I have to be on guard, Qin Yun said with a serious expression. Palace Master Violet Spirit never allows men to enter her boudoir. Now that she has invited him in, she definitely has ill intentions. Zi Qingqing's voice didn't come out. She was probably speechless, or perhaps she was so angry that her delicate body was trembling, unable to speak. Palace Master Violet Spirit, if you come to the inscription gate to find me, it's best if you come during the day. If you come at night, I'm afraid my reputation will be tarnished. Alright, I'm going back. I just had a fight and I'm very tired. With that said, Qin Yun pulled Lan Fengjin and flew into the sky. In a blink of an eye, they disappeared into the horizon. The group of female disciples from the Violet Spirit Star Palace stared blankly at Qin Yun's disappearing back. In their hearts, they felt even more admiration for this great hero. Lan Fengjin followed Qin Yun and flew in the air. She said with a charming smile, Master, you were so cool just now. Alright, why didn't you go to the Qingqing Pavilion? Are you really afraid of that Palace Master Violet Spirit? I heard that she's a heavenly beauty. Qin Yun curled his lips. Of course I can't just agree to it. I'm the sect master of the inscription gate after all. If I had to do whatever she says, how would I be able to survive in the future? I have to show her my strength first. Furthermore, I have to let her know that I, Qin Yun, am not the kind of man who thinks with his lower body. I'm not that easy to control. That's true. After all, Master is the boss of the inscription gate. If you want to master a high-level inscription, you have to put on some airs and show off. Lan Fengjin thought for a moment and felt that Qin Yun's actions made sense. Qin Yun said with a smile, Didn't she do as I asked her to apologize to those female disciples? This is called taking the lead. I want her to follow my rhythm. Otherwise, she will ride on top of my head. Lan Fengjin smiled and gave Qin Yun a thumbs up. Soon, Qin Yun and Lan Fengjin flew back to the Silver Mountain and entered the hall from the cave at the top. Qin Yun took out the jade pendant and opened up a few passageways. There were many stone doors in the passageways. They were all stone rooms. Lan Fengjin could now be considered a disciple of the inscription gate and could also live here. The moment she received the high-grade spirit inscription from Qin Yun, she hurriedly entered a stone room and studied it seriously. Qin Yun sat in the hall, took out the star flame liquid and dripped it into his eyes. The risk of dripping the star flame liquid into his eyes was great, but if he succeeded, he would be able to release a very strong flame from his eyes. It's a success. Qin Yun's eyes absorbed the energy of the star flame liquid in an instant. To him, the process was like sand entering his eyes. He controlled the purple flames to gush out from his eyes. They condensed into two extremely hot flames that struck a piece of high-grade bone steel. The bone steel instantly turned red. The consumption is quite high. It's not bad to use it to trick people. Qin Yun nodded in satisfaction. He had defeated Xiao Yanglong and obtained a Sun-Moon Profound Bowl. The Sun-Moon Profound Bowl could absorb the essence of the sun and moon and condense a liquid that could accelerate the growth of medicinal herbs. This thing is indeed severely damaged. The two blood inscriptions are damaged, but they can still be used. If they are repaired, it should be a very high-grade Xian artifact. Qin Yun put away the Sun-Moon Divine Bowl. He would use it when he needed pills in the future. Right now, the most important thing was to open the second bead of the Nine Yang Divine Spirit. This would take a period of time to break through the second bead's formation. Just as he was about to enter the stone room, he suddenly sensed a very strong aura. He hurriedly opened the door and a fragrant and intoxicating breeze blew in. A beautiful woman wearing a purple dress appeared in the hall. She wore purple accessories, a purple hairpin, purple earrings and a beautiful purple dress. It made her look even more noble and dignified, with peerless beauty. Qin Yun did not need to guess to know that it was Zi Qingqing. Previously, he had also seen Xue Zai dressed in purple. However, her style was cold and simple. As for the Zi Qingqing in front of him, she was extremely beautiful and dignified. She was very different from Xue Zai. She was at the spirit martial realm and her aura was very strong. She gave off a high and mighty feeling that no one dared to look at her. The moment Zi Qingqing entered, she carefully sized up Qin Yun. Qin Yun was also looking at her. Furthermore, he was looking at her from head to toe without restraint. He felt that the Zi Qingqing in front of him might not be the most beautiful woman he had ever seen, but she had a unique charm and temperament. It might also be related to her powerful strength. Who are you? This is too rude. Qin Yun was initially stunned by Zi Qingqing's aura, but he quickly regained his senses. You already know the answer. Zi Qingqing frowned slightly and snorted with her gentle voice. I am Zi Qingqing. Qin Yun laughed and said, So it's the palace master of the Violet Spirit Palace. You came really quickly. But this doesn't seem too polite. If you barge in like this and I'm taking a bath or something, that would be awkward. Qin Yun, you asked me to come find you. I'm here. Now, can we get down to business? Zi Qingqing seemed to be able to tell that Qin Yun did not want to discuss business with her directly. This was intentional. It was to show her some strength. Qin Yun pointed to a chair and said, Then please take a seat. Oh right, how are Teacher Yang's injuries? What about Yuelan? Has she stepped into the martial Dao realm? Shuyue's situation is rather complicated. She won't be able to recover in a short period of time. However, with her purple moon martial spirit, I will definitely do my best to help her recover. Zi Qingqing sat down gracefully. She looked at Qin Yun, who was sitting at the seat of honor. She felt somewhat displeased. After all, she was the palace master of the Violet Spirit Star Palace. However, Qin Yun was talking to her from above. Yuelan is in seclusion. It's only a matter of time before she breaks through. Qin Yun nodded and said, Palace Master Violet Spirit, what business do you have with me? Zi Qingqing said, 2 things. First, in the plaza of the Violet Spirit Star Palace, you killed 2 warriors of the Dragon Fist sect and injured many disciples of those 3 sections. They will definitely come looking for trouble with you. Second, if you can pass the examination of the Inscription Gate and obtain the inheritance of the Inscription Gate, I hope that you can help me when my Violet Spirit Star Palace needs your help in the future. The inscription inheritance I obtained from the Inscription Gate is not something that I can grasp right now, so I can't help you right now. Qin Yun sighed. He was telling the truth. Those star runes and moon runes were indeed extremely difficult to learn. Then, the soul refining technique and high-grade spirit inscriptions that you have mastered will also be of great help to our Violet Spirit Star Palace. Zi Qingqing said in a low voice, if you need it, please do your best. In terms of reward, I will not treat you unfairly. That's easy to say. When you need it, let's talk about it again. Then let's leave it at that for today. I still have urgent matters to attend to. Palace Master Zi, please. Qin Yun walked out of his seat to send Zi Qingqing off. Zi Qingqing frowned as a trace of dissatisfaction appeared on her face. She said with a bitter tone, Qin Yun, don't you plan on talking to me about the future development of our Violet Spirit Star Palace? Let's talk about it later, I'm really busy. Qin Yun was in a hurry to open the second bead to take a look. He wished that he could send Zi Qingqing flying with a kick. Zi Qingqing was immediately stunned. She now viewed Qin Yun as a very important person in the Violet Spirit Star Palace. That was why she had planned to discuss future development with him. However, Qin Yun had ordered her to leave. Not to mention this, she was the dignified palace master of the Violet Spirit Star Palace. Even in the martial desolate land, she was a distinguished guest of many famous sections. However, the little demon in front of her was in a hurry to chase her away. Qin Yun, you are going too far. If you don't give me any face, I will have to give it to you. I have to show my might. Zi Qingqing's face was cold. As soon as she stood up, she took out a rope that flickered with a purple light. She threw the rope out and it transformed into a purple light that leaped towards Qin Yun, tying him up. You! What are you doing? After Qin Yun was tied up, he could not help but be alarmed. He also realized that the rope was extremely powerful. It was at the level of a Xian artifact, and was not something he could easily break free from. Chapter 340. Talisman Weapon. Without saying a word, Zi Qingqing carried Qin Yun out of the hall of the Inscription Gate. After walking out of the cave, the stone door automatically closed. Outside the cave, there was a luxurious purple-gold carriage. Zi Qingqing threw Qin Yun into the carriage and entered the carriage herself. Under her control, the carriage began to fly quickly. Damn fat woman, what are you doing? Qin Yun could not help but shout angrily. This Zi Qingqing had tied him up for no reason, which made him very angry. You! What did you call me? Zi Qingqing was also dumbfounded. She really wanted to look at her face in the mirror to see if she had really become fat. Listen up, darn fat hag, darn fat hag, darn fat hag. Qin Yun kept shouting. Zi Qingqing was so angry that she was at a loss for words. After a moment of silence, she asked angrily, You're talking nonsense. How am I fat? She wasn't fat, it was just that her face was a little round. Furthermore, her skeleton was relatively large and her body was slightly plump, making her look relatively large. Look at your face, I can squeeze out a lot of meat. Qin Yun snorted, Hurry up and let me go. If the news of me being kidnapped by you gets out, my reputation will be ruined. You? What are you thinking? Who is ruining your reputation? I just want to bring you into the Qingqing Pavilion and have a good talk with you. Zi Qingqing was also infuriated. No one had ever called her fat, but this brat in front of her had actually called her a fat woman. Qin Yun said with a worried expression, I have dual martial spirits and dual totems. What if you master some evil arts and want to plot against me? Besides, a woman with a cultivation like yours is probably a few hundred years old. You must be like a wolf or a tiger, sitting on the ground and sucking up the earth. It's very dangerous for a young man like me to fall into your hands." Zi Qingqing was about to go mad with anger. She wished she could immediately throw Qin Yun out and beat him up. "I really want to hit you." Zi Qingqing waved her hand and slapped him. However, she did not hit Qin Yun's face. Instead, she pinched Qin Yun's handsome face. "Little brat, you're so annoying, I'll pinch you to death." Zi Qingqing bared her jade teeth as she rubbed Qin Yun's face with both hands. "Damned fat woman you! You dare to disrespect me, I won't let you off." Qin Yun felt very uncomfortable being kneaded. He kept shouting loudly. Qin Yun's face was red from being tormented, and his hair was a mess. He shrank into a corner of the limousine and didn't say a word. After rubbing Qin Yun's handsome face for a while, Zi Qingqing felt much better. Qin Yun never expected that this cold and aloof strong woman would act like a child when she lost her temper. Furthermore, she did not play by the rules and kidnapped him for no reason. Zi Qingqing still looked at Qin Yun angrily and said, "Qin Yun, you should already know that our sects have descended to investigate the immortal graveyard, right?" "Of course I know. I also know that your spirit-level sects are all subsidiary forces of a black-level sect. Now that they've been sent here, they're most likely here to die. It can be seen that none of you spirit-level sects are valued highly by your superiors." Qin Yun curled his lips. Zi Qingqing nodded, smart. "Indeed, that Xian sect has over 30 subordinate sects, and the few of us are the weakest. Therefore, we were arranged to be here. If we are unable to find any clues about the immortal graveyard within the stipulated time, we will be completely abandoned by them." "So be it," Qin Yun said indifferently. "I think this is pretty good. I don't have to be their dog." Zi Qingqing sighed softly. "Things are not as simple as you think. Next, there will be many powers coming here for the immortal graveyard. If we didn't have the protection of a Xian sect behind us, we would only be swallowed up and controlled by others. Qin Yun, if you have ambition, you should join hands with us and manage the Violet Spirit Star Palace well. When you grow stronger in the future, you will become a Xian sect." Qin Yun immediately thought about it. He felt that Zi Qingqing was very ambitious. She wanted to grow up in the borders and become independent, leaving behind that Xian sect. "Yuelon has the immortal graveyard diagram on her," Zi Qingqing said again. "Palace Mistress Zi, don't you dare have any ideas about Yuelon. The immortal graveyard is not as simple as you think." Qin Yun's expression turned cold as he said, "If you want to rely on the immortal graveyard to make the Violet Spirit Star Palace stronger, then forget it." Zi Qingqing hurriedly explained, "Don't worry, Yuelon's aptitude is very good. I won't let her take the risk. I'm just telling you the situation at the borders. Because this is the immortal graveyard near the Cloud Dragon Mountain Range, many sects will be stationed here soon. Right now, there is a Xian sect behind our Violet Spirit Star Palace, so we don't have to worry about being attacked." Qin Yun also knew that there were many powerful sects in the martial desolate land. A half-dead sect like the Violet Spirit Star Palace was a very powerful existence to the empires and martial academies at the borders, let alone the Xian and Qing sects. As the carriage slowly flew, Qin Yun fell into deep thought. Suddenly, the flying caravan suddenly trembled, accompanied by a very strong magical beast aura pouring in. Zi Qingqing's expression suddenly changed. "Crap, we've been attacked by a flying magical beast." She hurriedly closed her eyes to investigate the situation outside. Her beautiful jade-like face also turned heavy. "The carriage has been swallowed. We're in the body of a flying magical beast." She opened her eyes and said solemnly. Qin Yun's expression changed as well. Could it be that the flying carriage was swallowed just now? Zi Qingqing nodded. The Violet Spirit Star Palace was not far from the Blue Spirit Star Palace, but there were very few powerful flying magical beasts that appeared here. To be able to fly over and swallow the carriage, a flying magical beast must be extremely large. Right now, the flying carriage was inside the gigantic flying magical beast's body. Don't worry, this flying magical beast is only a spirit beast. It's not my match. Zi Qingqing closed her eyes as her body emitted a purple aura that contained a terrifying power. The carriage also began to shake violently. The flying magical beast seemed to have made a big move. Half an hour later, the limousine suddenly trembled. The flying magical beast couldn't withstand my strength and fell to the ground. As Zi Qingqing spoke, an even stronger force burst out from her body and penetrated the carriage. The carriage was wrapped in a purple mist as it suddenly rose up, piercing through the body of the magical beast and successfully running out. However, just as the carriage flew out, it was struck by several forces. And this time, it was the power of a human. It was a very dense power of the Great Tao. This level of Great Tao power should be at the 6th or 7th level of the Martial Tao realm. There are a total of more than 10 Martial Tao realm cultivators attacking this carriage. Zi Qingqing was immediately infuriated. Someone wants to ambush me. She hurriedly ran out, leaving Qin Yun inside. This damned fat woman, she actually didn't untie me. Qin Yun struggled for a moment before cursing softly. So careless, you really have big breasts and no brains. You still want to achieve great things. I'm not going to accompany you. Qin Yun took out an eyeball that he had refined and threw it out. Then, he used his mental energy to look at the situation outside. He quickly saw that the gigantic flying magical beast was dozens of meters long. It seemed to be a giant black eagle lying on the ground. It should be dead. Zi Qingqing was able to kill a very strong spirit beast in the carriage. Her strength was indeed very strong. They were in a forest. The trees here were all over 100 meters tall and were very huge. However, they were all flattened by the shockwaves produced by the falling flying magical beast. Zi Qingqing floated in the air, a few meters above the ground. Looking at the dozen or so elders in front of her, she said coldly, Dragon Fist Sect, Wind Spirit Sect, Floating Spirit Valley. Your 3 sects actually joined forces to attack me. Aren't you afraid that I'll report this to the higher-ups? A gray-haired old man said, This is our private action. It has nothing to do with the sect behind us. Zi Qingqing, your Violet Spirit Star Palace has reaped a great harvest. You have obtained Blue Spirit Star Palace, Xiao Yuelon, who possesses the immortal graveyard diagram, and Qin Yun, who has mastered the art of soul refining. Seeing that you have just returned from Blue Spirit Star Palace, you should have come to an agreement with Qin Yun. Zi Qingqing, now that you have so many resources in your hands, have your ambitions skyrocketed? You want to leave the higher-ups and leave us alone? Qin Yun killed our Martial Tao realm elder and an outstanding martial body realm disciple. How do you plan on compensating us? When Zi Qingqing saw the weapons in their hands, she said with a sneer, You guys are holding a few royal-grade talisman weapons. This is something even more precious than ordinary Xian artifact. Only the elders of the spirit realm in the sect have them. They must have lent them to you. You still say that this is your private operation? Aren't you lying? Qin Yun was alarmed. He had never heard of a talisman weapon. He felt that he should ask Shuchuan. This seemed to be an extraordinary item. Attack. After the gray-haired old man finished speaking, he threw out a longsword in his hand. After the longsword flew out, it actually flashed with lightning and turned into purple lightning, striking at Zi Qingqing. Zi Qingqing waved her sleeve and formed a purple screen of light. The flying sword collided with the purple screen of light, stirring up a violent thunderstorm that forced Zi Qingqing to retreat dozens of steps. The resulting shockwave also sent the RV flying. The crystal eyeball that Qin Yun had released had also been shattered. As a result, he could not see what was happening outside. However, he could hear deafening sounds coming from the carriage. The carriage was also pushed by the waves of air until it was finally stuck at the root of a large tree. "Mo, come out and see if you can get rid of this rope," Qin Yun said. Mo came out to take a look and said, "It shouldn't be a problem. If I destroy a tiny bit of the dark lines, I can make this Xian artifact lose its effectiveness." Indeed, she quickly succeeded. Qin Yun spent a lot of effort to break free from the rope. He was in a sorry state and his clothes were in a mess. Outside, it had quietened down as well. Qin Yun threw out a crystal eyeball and saw blood flowing from the corner of Ziqingqing's mouth. Her face was pale and she was spreading her arms, releasing waves of purple gas. The dozen or so elders around her were all holding a mirror that was half the height of a person. Those mirrors seemed to have a very strong power. When they shone on Ziqingqing, she was unable to move. In order to activate the power of the mirror, the dozen or so elders were under a lot of pressure. All of them had serious expressions on their faces. Although Ziqingqing could not move, she was still at the spirit realm, and the power she released was very strong. Those dozen or so elders could not take her down in a short period of time. These fellows from the martial desolate land have a lot of strange things in their hands. There are more than 10 of them in the martial Dao realm, and each of them can use a mirror to restrain that damned fat woman. They really do have some ability. Chapter 341. Extracting Spirit Marks. Chapter 341. Extracting Spirit Marks. Qin Yun took out more than 10 high-grade bone talismans and walked out of the carriage. "If we persist like this, it won't do anyone any good," Ziqingqing suddenly said. "If a spirit beast comes, once we are interrupted, all of us will be injured. As long as our mysterious mirror seal's power successfully breaks through your defense, we will be able to seal you. Ziqingqing, you won't be able to hold on for long. The explosion of our talisman weapons just now also heavily injured you. Quickly give up." Ziqingqing sneered. "This Xian mirror seal magic tool is connected to your souls. If you do not succeed and are interrupted, your souls will definitely be torn apart. You are really taking a risk." The gray-haired elder said, "As long as we take you down, we can capture Xiao Yuelon alive, obtain the immortal graveyard diagram, and immediately return to the martial desolate land. If we report to the higher-ups, we don't have to stay in this damned place. You are hiding Xiao Yuelon and refusing to let her hand over the immortal graveyard diagram. It is obvious that you want to monopolize the secrets of the immortal graveyard." Suddenly, someone saw Qin Yun. "Brat, who are you?" A yellow-haired elder saw Qin Yun walk over from the carriage. "I am your uncle Qin Yun." Qin Yun hurriedly walked over and placed a talisman on the yellow-haired elder's forehead. The dozen or so elders immediately sucked in a deep breath of cold air. When they saw Qin Yun's clothes in disarray as he came out of the carriage, they immediately thought of something. "Ziqingqing, you are truly despicable. In order to obtain Qin Yun's soul-refining technique and the mysterious inscriptions of the inscription gate, you actually seduced him. I really didn't expect that the pure and aloof Ziqingqing, who is known as the Violet Spirit Jade Maiden, would actually sell her pure and holy body in order to achieve her goal and have an affair with a little brat in a flying carriage. Ziqingqing, Qin Yun is Xiao Yuelon's husband. You actually seduced a married man. If this news were to spread to the martial desolate, no one would believe it." Ziqingqing was so angry that her entire body was trembling. More blood flowed out from the corner of her mouth. "Fat woman, I already said that it's easy for people to overthink this." Qin Yun cursed softly. He arrived in front of the old man and ruthlessly slapped him a few times. The old man, who was slapped a few times, roared in anger. "Qin Yun, you are courting death." Qin Yun said with sneer, "You are about to die, yet you still have so much bullshit to say. At this moment, Qin Yun stuck a talisman on each old man's forehead, and they were all slapped by Qin Yun more than 10 times. One had to know that they were all at the 6th or 7th level of the martial body stage. With this kind of strength, they had quite a bit of status in the sect. However, they were ruthlessly slapped in the face by a brat. Slapping the face doesn't hurt the body, but it hurts the self-esteem. This made them feel extremely humiliated, and they wished they could swallow Qin Yun alive. Qin Yun, what talisman is that? Let's talk this out. An old man suddenly said with some fear. A superior grade poison spirit talisman. It's something that can poison people with spirit runes. I don't know how effective it is. I've made more than 20 of these talismans, but I've never tried them. Qin Yun smiled. You are saying that I'm having an affair with Zi Qingqing? That's impossible, but if you go back alive, you'll definitely talk nonsense, so don't even think about living. After he finished speaking, he activated the poison spirit talismans. The talisman immediately released a black aura, releasing waves of talisman power that poured into his head from his forehead. Ah. The old men let out miserable cries and had no choice but to drop the mirrors in their hands and roll on the ground. Zi Qingqing's delicate body went limp and she nearly collapsed. Thankfully, Qin Yun walked over to support her. So heavy, and you still say you're not fat. Qin Yun hugged Zi Qingqing and curled his lip. Then, he carefully placed her on the ground. The old men were all poisoned and were rolling on the ground in pain. Qin Yun walked over and put away all the Mystic Mirror Seal magical artifact. When he went to take the old men's storage spirit artifacts, he found that they all had blood contract markings. He could only helplessly destroy them. Qin Yun, you should have killed them quickly just now. There's no need to waste talismans on them. Zi Qingqing felt much more relaxed as she hurriedly circulated her energy to heal her injuries. That won't do. I have to extract their martial spirits. Qin Yun chuckled as he walked over and extracted the martial spirit from a gray-haired elder. Very quickly, the old man let out a series of miserable screams like a pig being slaughtered. Golden sword martial spirit, trash martial spirit. Qin Yun was somewhat disappointed. However, a mosquito's leg was still meat, so he accepted it for now. The other elders were all poisoned and injured. However, they were still at the 6th or 7th level of the martial Dao realm, so they wouldn't die that quickly. Therefore, they could all see the process of Qin Yun's soul extraction. Zi Qingqing's beautiful eyes widened as she watched. She was secretly alarmed. Following that, the sound of pigs being slaughtered could be heard as Qin Yun extracted the martial spirits of the elders one by one. The strongest is only a platinum ice martial spirit. Sigh. It's all trash martial spirits, a waste of my energy. Qin Yun placed the martial spirits into the soul sealing pearl and kept them properly. The poisoned old man lying on the ground was filled with incomparable resentment. His heart was bleeding and he was in endless despair. What infuriated them the most was that Qin Yun had extracted their martial spirits and even despised them. Qin Yun, we have no enmity with you. Why are you so vicious to us? You are so vicious at such a young age. You will definitely be an evil demon in the future. The gray-haired elder said angrily. Didn't you say that you wanted to capture Yuelan alive? She is my wife. You want to capture her alive and take away her immortal graveyard diagram. And you still say that you have no enmity with me? Qin Yun snorted and took out a furnace. Also, even if you are about to die, I still want to tell you that nothing happened between me and Zi Qingqing. She's still far from being able to seduce me. After Qin Yun finished speaking, he threw the elders into the furnace one by one. Then, he used the nether sun purple flame to activate the alchemy runes inside and turn them into ashes. Hurry up and get out of here. We have already passed the Cloud Dragon River. This place is extremely dangerous. Zi Qingqing suddenly sensed a strong magical beast aura and hurriedly said. She stood up, pulled Qin Yun, and ran towards the limousine. After entering the caravan, she hurriedly controlled the caravan to fly away from this place. Not long after, the caravan landed. That was because Zi Qingqing was getting weaker and weaker. They did not know why. The purple gold caravan landed on a large tree and was stuck in the dense branches. "What's wrong with you?" Qin Yun was also somewhat worried about Zi Qingqing. She was a martial artist of the spirit realm. If she was severely injured and attacked by a powerful magical beast, it would be very dangerous. "I was injured by a talisman weapon." Zi Qingqing bit her lips and said in a low voice, "Once you are hit by a talisman weapon, your body will be branded with spirit marks. If you can't get rid of the spirit marks in time, it will cause great harm to your body." "I'm good at this. Where are those spirit marks?" Qin Yun rolled up his sleeves and said, "It's here." Zi Qingqing rubbed her chest with her hand. Qin Yun frowned and said, "This place doesn't seem to be very convenient. It hurts my hand. There's one on my back as well. There are a total of 2 spirit marks branded on my body, both on my chest and back." Zi Qingqing sighed helplessly. "Those fellows came prepared. If it wasn't for you, I might have been captured by them. Humph, to think you tied me up. If it wasn't for the fact that I could untie myself, we would all be finished. You are really careless." Qin Yun reprimanded. "I'm sorry, it's my fault." Zi Qingqing also apologized with a sense of self-blame. She was also very surprised that Qin Yun could untie her rope. That was a Xian rank spirit weapon. Qin Yun came behind her and said, "I'll help you get rid of the spirit marks on your back first." Zi Qingqing nodded slightly and turned around, her back facing Qin Yun. The purple dress on her upper body slowly slid down, revealing her tender, snow-white back, as well as her jade-like waist. Qin Yun looked at the alluring jade back and remained unmoved. That was because all his attention was focused on the black spirit marks on the jade back. He reached out his hand and rubbed the spirit marks on Zi Qingqing's back. He could not help but say, "You're really a little fat. It feels like you're fleshy. Little rascal, hurry up and do something serious." Zi Qingqing let out a soft moan and scolded. Qin Yun did not know what kind of spirit marks it was, but there were both bright and dark marks. He said, "I might need some time. I want to collect the spirit marks on your back. It might be useful to me." "It's quite complicated. It should be a royal grade spirit mark. I only have a lot of high grade spiritual inscriptions. I have very few supreme grade and royal grade spiritual inscriptions." He hurriedly took out a pen and paper and quickly recorded the spirit marks on Zi Qingqing's back. Zi Qingqing wanted to curse in her heart. Her current situation was very serious. However, Qin Yun was excitedly recording the spirit marks, as though he had picked up a treasure. Qin Yun spent more than an hour to record the spirit mark. Then, he used the power of the blood soul to combine it with his mental force to slowly erase the black spirit mark. It only took a moment. So fast. If it was me, I might need several months to remove the spirit mark. Although Zi Qingqing was very dissatisfied with Qin Yun, she had no choice but to praise Qin Yun's ability. "You can do it yourself," Qin Yun said. "I'm a gentleman, so I won't take advantage of you." This was the first time Zi Qingqing had met a man who despised her so much. One had to know that in the martial desolate land, the experts who pursued her could fill the entire plaza of the Violet Spirit Star Palace. "No, you have to help me remove that spirit mark as soon as possible. If I were to do it myself, it would take me more than half a year. This is a waste of my time and energy." Zi Qingqing bit her lips and made a difficult decision. Qin Yun looked at her and said seriously, "This is your own request. Don't use this matter to talk to me in the future. Also, you must keep it a secret." "There's no need for you to tell me that. I'll keep it a secret." Zi Qingqing snorted. "If I were to go into seclusion for half a year, the situation outside would change, and I wouldn't be able to react in time. During this period of time, I have to maintain my best condition. For the sake of the overall situation, I will only. Before she finished speaking, Qin Yun reached out his hand and pulled down her dress. Zi Qingqing was taken aback. She never expected Qin Yun to be so swift. Chapter 342. Heart flies to the martial desolate. Zi Qingqing closed her eyes. She was extremely nervous, and the carriage was very quiet. She could hear her own heartbeat and the rustling sound of Qin Yun's pen on the paper. "You little rascal, you're actually recording the spirit inscriptions so seriously." She opened her eyes and saw that Qin Yun was completely focused on recording the spirit inscriptions on her upper body. He did not pay any attention to anything else. This made her secretly wonder if she was really that unbearable to not be attractive to men at all. Zi Qingqing looked at Qin Yun with some hidden bitterness and said softly, Can you make good use of these spirit inscriptions?" "Of course I can." Qin Yun looked at Zi Qingqing's chest without blinking. It was unknown if he was looking at the spirit inscriptions or something else. Zi Qingqing felt that as long as she did not tell anyone about this matter, it would be fine. However, she still felt very shy. Her jade-like face turned red and her eyes were filled with shyness. "Hurry up," she shouted softly. "I'll be done soon. This spirit inscription is not as complicated as the back," Qin Yun said as he continued to seriously record the spirit inscriptions. After he finished recording, he used his finger to draw on the spirit inscriptions on Zi Qingqing's body. He erased those spirit inscriptions at a very fast speed. After she was done, Zi Qingqing hurriedly put on the purple dress and wrapped her body tightly. However, the feeling of Qin Yun caressing her body remained deep in her mind. As for Qin Yun, he was staring at the two spirit inscriptions in a daze. It was as if nothing had happened. "I never thought that your mental state would be so high." Zi Qingqing used her cultivation to recuperate and said softly, "Now, I finally know why you're so heavy even though you don't look fat. The meat is growing where it should grow." Qin Yun chuckled. Zi Qingqing's face immediately flushed red. She closed her eyes and stopped talking. Qin Yun put away the two pieces of paper and suddenly extended his hand. He placed it on Zi Qingqing's slightly round face and rubbed it back and forth. "Little rascal, what are you doing?" Zi Qingqing was immediately infuriated as she shouted. "You rubbed my face like that before. I was just taking revenge." Qin Yun chuckled and said, "Your bun face is really easy to rub." Zi Qingqing released an aura and pushed Qin Yun away. She shouted angrily, "You're the one with a bun face." Qin Yun leaned against a corner and glanced at the spot where Zi Qingqing had been branded with spirit marks. When Zi Qingqing saw the look in his eyes, she suddenly realized that the steamed bun that Qin Yun was referring to was not only her face, but something else. She fiercely glared at Qin Yun, then closed her eyes and continued to nurse her body. She suddenly felt that ever since she came into contact with Qin Yun, the anger she felt was more than all the anger she had felt over the years. Zi Qingqing had recovered quite a bit of her strength. She controlled the carriage and quickly flew through the air, crossing the Cloud Dragon River and flying towards the Violet Spirit Star Palace. It was also Qin Yun's first time going to the other side of the Cloud Dragon River. Now that he had some understanding, he knew that the trees there were very large, and there were many powerful magic beasts hidden there. Looks like the Dragon Fist sect and the others can control spirit beasts. Right now, they are extremely afraid of the Violet Spirit Star Palace. They can't wait to take care of me because they are worried that I will swallow them up or that I will be the first to find clues to the immortal graveyard. Qin Yun curled his lips and said, "Your struggle is really intense. Now, it's the three sects that have joined forces to deal with me. Although I have annexed the Blue Spirit Star Palace, Lan Chun of the Blue Spirit Star Palace and a few other martial Dao realm cultivators have left. In the Blue Spirit Star Palace, only you can be considered powerful." When Zi Qingqing mentioned this matter, she seemed to be somewhat angry. They don't accept me. Is it because I'm a woman? After Lan Chun lost the Blue Spirit Star Palace, he patted his bald head and left. The other Martial Dao Realm elders were also unwilling to submit to a woman like Zi Qingqing, so they all left the Blue Spirit Star Palace. Qin Yun sighed as well. The Blue Spirit Star Palace had disintegrated just like that. When I see Lan Chen in the future, I will definitely mock this damned baldy for running away after losing. Zi Qingqing smiled. Qin Yun, now are you willing to be the pillar of our Violet Spirit Star Palace? Not really. When I see Yuelon and Teacher Yang, I'll discuss it with them. Qin Yun did not immediately agree. That would be very tiring. This. Qin Yun. Zi Qingqing's expression changed slightly as she appeared to be in a difficult position. With a face full of guilt, she said, Yuelon and Shiyue are no longer in the Violet Spirit Star Palace. When Qin Yun, who was sitting in the corner, heard this, he stood up abruptly and shouted in shock, Where did they go? Sister Lan told me that they are all in your Violet Spirit Star Palace. It's mainly because Shiyue's injuries are too troublesome. I had no choice but to send 2 old grannies of the Spirit Martial Realm to send her through the Cloud Dragon Mountain Range to the Martial Desolate. Yuelon and Zi Yi also want to go and I agreed. Zi Qingqing lowered her head, not daring to look at Qin Yun. Passing through the Cloud Dragon Mountain Range was extremely dangerous. Qin Yun was very worried when he heard this. He was very angry as he said coldly, You lied to me. Why didn't you tell me before? When Zi Qingqing saw that Qin Yun was angry, she hurriedly explained, Qin Yun, I know you're worried about Yuelon. After all, she has the immortal graveyard diagram on her. But don't worry, I'll send them to the Martial Desolate and arrange for them to join a very strong Xian sect. That sect only accepts female disciples. They will be very safe inside. Their martial talent is very high. It will also be very beneficial for them to enter a Xian sect as soon as possible. Moreover, this is also where they decided to go. At that time, they all thought that you wouldn't come out of the inscription gate that quickly. Qin Yun also thought of many things and asked, You didn't tell me before because you were afraid that I would immediately follow them if I found out that they had gone to the Martial Desolate? The Violet Spirit Star Palace has lost 2 seniors of the Spirit Realm, and the other 3 sects also know about it. That's why they ambushed you, right? Zi Qingqing sighed and nodded. I just want to keep you here for a while so that the Dragon Fist sect and the others won't dare to act recklessly. Just wait for those 2 old grannies to return. Can you really guarantee that Yuelon and Teacher won't be threatened by other people? Qin Yun asked seriously. Zi Qingqing hurriedly nodded and said, The reason why I sent them to the Xian sect in the Martial Desolate is to give her more protection. The Xian sect they entered was also my former sect. I was expelled because I made a mistake and then entered the Violet Spirit Star Palace. In the end, I inherited the position of Palace Master. Although I was expelled, I have a lot of feelings for that sect. Furthermore, they had secretly helped me before. With Yuelon and Shiyue's talent, they will definitely be able to develop very well there. When Zi Qingqing saw Qin Yun's doubtful expression, she said again, I promise you. Once I stabilize this place, I'll bring you to the Martial Desolate. And Fengjin. I've also heard about her being bullied, and those evil women were also killed by me. The corner of Qin Yun's eyebrows twitched. Those evil women were all in the Martial Dao realm. They were not weak to the Violet Spirit Star Palace, but they were killed by Zi Qingqing so quickly. How do you want me to help you? At that moment, Qin Yun also wanted to go to the Martial Desolate to take a look. If possible, you can provide us with some of the inscriptions you obtained from the inscription gate. Zi Qingqing said. Qin Yun shook his head and said, The inscriptions I obtained from the inscription gate cannot be spread out. Of course, if your inscription masters can pass the trial of the inscription gate, I will pass it to you. Even if Sister Lan is my disciple, I can't pass it to her. Zi Qingqing was somewhat disappointed as she sighed softly. Have you heard of beast oil? Is this thing of great help to you? Qin Yun felt that Zi Qingqing's ambition was not small. He could help her appropriately. If she could really strengthen the Violet Spirit Star Palace in the future, it would be of great help to him. When Zi Qingqing heard the beast oil, her eyes lit up and she hurriedly nodded. Of course I've heard of it. This thing is very useful and is rather rare in the Martial Desolate. It can be used to quickly refine Xian Yuan steel or to refine materials. In short, it's very useful. I'll give you some. This will be of great help to you, right? Qin Yun said. Zi Qingqing smiled and asked, How much? Half a day later, Qin Yun followed Zi Qingqing to the Violet Spirit Star Palace. They entered a very large underground secret room. There was a very large pool here, which was originally used to store spirit liquid. But now it had been filled with beast oil by Qin Yun. The beast oil was poured out by Qin Yun from a bottle. There was still a lot of beast oil inside. Is that enough? Qin Yun looked at Zi Qingqing's stunned face and could not help but reach out to pinch it. Sister Steamed Bun, this beast oil should be enough for you to use for a long time. Zi Qingqing hurriedly nodded. She was very excited and her face was full of smiles. Even though Qin Yun had pinched her face and called her sister Steamed Bun, she was no longer angry. After obtaining so much beast oil, she hurriedly went to inform the inscription masters of the Violet Spirit Star Palace. As for Qin Yun, he also left the Violet Spirit Star Palace to the imperial city of the Tian Qin Empire. Qin Yun arrived at the imperial palace of the imperial city and discussed many things with his father in the study. Qin Long also knew that his son had done many great things in Blue Spirit Star Palace. Now that he saw Qin Yun return and that he was at the Martial Dao realm, he was very happy. Qin Long sighed. The dragon totem on his face was constantly flashing. Little Yun, the matters of this border area are really one wave after another before one has even subsided. It's like the attack of magical beasts. Now, there are a few large sects that are far stronger than our imperial palaces. After Qin Yun stepped into the Martial Dao realm, he realized that his father was not at the first level of the Martial Dao. Instead, he was at the second or third level of the Martial Dao. He was far stronger than the first level. Qin Yun asked, Father, I've been in contact with the Violet Spirit Palace Master. She said that in the future, there will be more sects stationed here in order to investigate the immortal graveyard. Then, what plans does our Tian Qin Empire have for the future? I've already discussed it with the Demon King. When the time comes, I will choose a more reliable sect to rely on. Qin Long smiled. I had originally planned to join the Violet Spirit Star Palace, but the situation is still unclear. It won't be too late for me to make a decision after the Violet Spirit Star Palace and the other sects have decided who is stronger. Chapter 343. Sacrifice. Qin Yun originally wanted to go to the Divine Inscription Palace to take a look because Xiao Yuemei and Xiao Xianqin are in the Imperial City's Divine Inscription Palace. However, Qin Long told him that Xiao Yuemei and Xiao Xianqin had gone to the Martial Desolate. They went with Zhuochuan. Zhuochuan, Duan Qian and the others also headed to the Martial Desolate. Xiao Xianqin and Xiao Yuemei naturally followed along. There was also Meng Feiling, who was on the same journey as them. They all went to the Martial Desolate land. I also want to take a look. Qin Yun was currently flying towards the Star Xian Wu Academy. When he arrived at the Star Xian Wu Academy, he met Du Gui. Du Gui was old and no longer had that kind of drive. Therefore, he did not go to the Martial Desolate land but continued to stay here. Qin Yun chatted with Du Gui for a while and learned that Qi Meilian and her mysterious teacher had gone to the Martial Desolate land originally. He also wanted to come and see Qi Meilian. At this moment, he could only hope that she could safely reach the martial desolate land. When Qin Yun left the Star Xian Wu Academy and flew over the myriad Star Lake, he could not help but think of his elder sister, the Grand Preceptor, who was hiding below. He hovered above the myriad Star Lake and looked at the huge waves that rose from time to time on the surface of the lake. He then looked at the 9 suns in the sky before looking at his wrist. 9 Yang Divine Spirit, Elder Sister Grand Preceptor, Mog's daughter, Immortal Graveyard, what secrets are they hiding? Qin Yun felt that he would soon head to the martial desolate land. He did not know when he would have enough strength to enter the mysterious Immortal Graveyard. Mother's soul is in the Immortal Graveyard. As long as we go in and retrieve her soul, we can resurrect her. Qin Yun recalled Xie Qiru's words and felt secretly excited. He also knew that if he wanted to successfully enter the Immortal Graveyard, he had to possess very strong strength. Even Zi Qinqing, who was at the spirit realm, did not dare to casually investigate the Immortal Graveyard, much less the martial Dao realm. Qin Yun hurriedly rushed back to Blue Spirit Star Palace. He wanted to quickly open the second bead of the 9 Yang Divine Spirit and see what was inside. Could it help him obtain even more power? After flying for half a day, Qin Yun finally arrived at the entrance of Blue Spirit Star Palace. However, the moment he arrived, he sensed that the Blue Spirit Star Palace's defensive formation had been broken. What's going on? Qin Yun's heart jolted as he hurriedly flew towards the Eastern Palace's inscription gate. As soon as he entered the East Palace, he sensed a few strong auras. It was the aura of the spiritual martial realm. Qin Yun was immediately alarmed. The auras of the spirit realm were filled with ruthless killing intent. It was afternoon, and the 9 scorching suns were very hot. However, the Eastern Palace was shrouded in a cold, murderous aura. Sister Lan. Qin Yun looked at the cave on top of the Silver Mountain. When he saw the stone door automatically close, he felt a lot more at ease. He was tied up by Zi Qinqing, and the stone door closed automatically. Lan Fengjin couldn't come out either. Just as he was flying towards the Silver Mountain, a murderous aura suddenly attacked him. It's the warriors of the spirit martial realm. They are still in the East Palace. Qin Yun did not know what was going on. He hurriedly used teleportation meteor and ran at an extremely fast speed. Qin Yun, you won't be able to escape. An aged voice filled with maniacal laughter rang out like thunder. Boom! A very powerful force descended from the sky, transforming into a bolt of golden lightning. It landed on Qin Yun's body and struck him down. After Qin Yun was struck, his body felt as though it was being torn apart by a numbing and painful force. Even though he was wearing the Blue Spirit Profound robe, he was unable to withstand the powerful lightning power. The power of the spirit realm was actually this terrifying. Bang! Qin Yun was struck down from the sky. He fell onto the flat ground at the foot of the mountain, just outside the entrance of the trial path of the inscription gate. Just as he landed, an old man wearing a dragon robe appeared and stomped heavily on Qin Yun's chest. This old man was from the Dragon Fist sect, and he was a martial artist of the spirit realm. Qin Yun felt as though his heart was about to shatter when he was heavily stomped on. Thankfully, he had the vibration Dao core in his heart, blocking the impact. Haha, let's see how you can still be arrogant. You actually killed someone from our Dragon Fist sect. The old man in the golden dragon robe laughed sinisterly. Qin Yun, do you know who I am? I am the sect leader of the Dragon Fist sect. Even that slut, Zi Qinqing, is not my match. Don't expect her to come and save you. Qin Yun endured the pain and said angrily, Old fellow, you better kill me immediately. Otherwise, I will definitely make you die a miserable death in the future. Ha ha! Did you hear that? This brat actually said that he wants me to die a miserable death. The Dragon Fist sect leader immediately laughed loudly. At this moment, many people walked out. Among them, there were 2 at the spirit realm and more than 20 at the martial Tao realm. In addition, there were also hundreds of martial artists at the 8th or 9th level martial body realm. So many people from the Dragon Fist sect had come. Ever since the Blue Spirit Star Palace was taken over by the Violet Spirit Star Palace, many disciples had run away. Many of the inscription masters had defected to other powers, causing the entire Blue Spirit Star Palace to be empty, and there was no one to maintain the Great Formation. As for the Violet Spirit Star Palace, they were unable to take over, which was why they were in such a situation. After all, the Blue Spirit Star Palace had already collapsed and was no longer of much value. No one can save you. The Dragon Fist sect leader laughed loudly. You won't be able to escape. Just as he finished his sentence, he saw a few old men in blue robes suddenly appear, and moreover, they swiftly rushed over. Elder Shui. Qin Yun could not help but shout when he saw the expressions of Shui Yihui and company, who were unafraid of death. Qin Yun, you are the only hope of the Blue Spirit Star Palace. Shui Yihui's eyes were red. To be able to see a successor of the inscription gate, I will die without regrets. Qin Yun, we will do our best to save you. An old man shouted as well. The Dragon Fist sect leader smiled disdainfully. You bunch of old fellows, have you lived enough? I'll send you on your way. Elder Shui you all. Qin Yun's eyes could not help but turn red. He was moved by the spirit of Shui Yihui and the other elders. Even Lan Chun had given up on the Blue Spirit Star Palace. However, Shui Yihui and the other elders of the Eastern Palace were bitterly defending. For many years, they had been looking forward to the day when the Blue Spirit Star Palace would rise. The reason why the Blue Spirit Star Palace had once been glorious was because of the existence of the Inscription Gate. Now, the Inscription Gate finally had a successor. This gave them hope. Therefore, Shui Yihui and the others had risked their lives for the sake of the hope that they had held onto for so many years. Shui Yihui and company were only in the martial Tao realm. In front of the spirit realm, they could not even withstand a single blow. However, when they rushed over, the Tao cores in their bodies suddenly swelled up and flew out of their bodies, charging towards the Dragon Fist sect leader. The originally contemptuous Dragon Fist sect leader and the others could not help but have a drastic change in expression when they saw the few Tao cores flying over. The power of the self-detonation of a Tao core could not be said to be great, but it was not small either. With his cultivation at the spirit realm, although he would not be injured, he would still be in a very sorry state. Furthermore, those Tao cores were all flying towards the group of martial Tao realm and martial body realm cultivators. The Dragon Fist sect leader and the other 2 were at the spirit realm. Naturally, they had to go and block them. Otherwise, not even half of the disciples they brought would be able to return. Furthermore, they would all be severely injured. The Dragon Fist sect leader and the others at the spirit realm had no choice but to abandon Qin Yun to protect their disciples. Qin Yun was already shocked by the feat of Shui Yihui and company. His eyes were moist. Elder Shui, I Qin Yun have let you down, he roared. After releasing the Tao cores, Shui Yihui and company lay on the ground. Only Shui Yihui was still alive, but he was about to die. He smiled at Qin Yun. Whether or not we can pass this trial will depend on you. We have lived long enough to be able to see a successor to the Inscription Gate. We are already satisfied. Qin Yun let out a deep roar as he used his strongest mental energy. He used the Imperial Spirit Art and stored the dying Shui Yihui into his storage space. Then, he used the Imperial Spirit Art to lift his injured body up and charge towards the trial path. All of this happened too quickly. No one had expected that Shui Yihui and company would have the courage to separate their Tao cores from their bodies. It was extremely painful. Boom, boom, boom. The explosion of the Tao cores destroyed most of the buildings in the Blue Spirit Star Palace. The violent ripples gradually weakened. The sky above Blue Spirit Star Palace was still shrouded in thick clouds. Dust danced in the air, accompanied by lightning. The Blue Spirit Star Palace had turned into ruins. Only the Silver Mountain still stood tall, shining with silver light, as sturdy as a fortress. The 3 warriors of the Dragon Fist Spirit sect also heaved a sigh of relief. If they had been any slower, not many of those disciples would have been able to survive. Hundreds of disciples were enveloped by their powerful energy barriers, preventing them from being injured by the exploding Pill Dao. Those old fellows actually wanted to drag our disciples down with them before they died. The Dragon Fist sect leader cursed angrily. That brat Qin Yun, he ran towards that cave. The entrance to the road of trial was still pitch black, like an evil mouth. After entering, there was no way to get out. Sect leader, should we chase after him? An old man said, we can't let him escape just like that. This guy's potential is very terrifying. What should we do when he comes back to take revenge on us in the future? If I had known earlier, I would have killed him just now. The Dragon Fist sect leader coldly snorted and said, are you blaming me for not being straightforward enough and not killing him immediately? What do you know? The value of capturing Qin Yun alive is enormous. You saw it too, those old fellows self-destructed their Dao cores to protect Qin Yun. You know his value. The mysterious Silver Mountain was once the glory of the Blue Spirit Star Palace. It once allowed the Blue Spirit Star Palace to become a Xian sect. Later on, because no one was able to pass the trial, the inheritance of the inscriptions was gradually cut off. Now that Qin Yun has passed the trial, it means that he can make the Blue Spirit Star Palace rise again. As long as we capture him alive and think of a way to obtain his inscriptions, our Dragon Fist sect can also become a Xian sect in the future. The old man nodded repeatedly. Sect leader is truly far-sighted. Then what should we do now? This mysterious Silver Mountain is famous for being hard. We definitely won't be able to break through it. Could it be that we have to enter the trial path? Wait, I don't believe that he won't come out. The Dragon Fist sect leader sneered. Our other people are currently attacking the Violet Spirit Star Palace. Once we take down the Violet Spirit Star Palace, we will be the overlord of this border area. Qin Yun entered the trial path, but the array formation inside did not attack him. He had the jade of the sect leader of the inscription gate in his hand, which allowed him to easily pass the trial. These guys actually attacked the Violet Spirit Star Palace. No wonder Zi Qingqing didn't come. Qin Yun heard the conversation outside the trial path. He was temporarily safe on the road of trials. Chapter 344. Earth Lightning Claw Shui Yihui had been saved by Qin Yun, but his injuries were severe. Furthermore, without the support of the Dao Core, he had become extremely weak. Even if he recovered from his injuries, he would quickly die of old age. By cultivating a Dao Core and condensing the power of the Great Dao, one's lifespan would increase. If it was a powerful person, they could even use the power of the Great Dao with pills to preserve their appearance forever. For example, Zi Qingqing. Shui Yihui had lost his Dao Core and the wrinkles on his face gradually increased. It was filled with an aura of death. Qin Yun passed through the trial path and arrived at the hall. He placed Shui Yihui on the ground. Then, through the tree totem, he condensed a strange life force and injected it into Shui Yihui's body. Shui Yihui, who was unconscious, gradually regained some consciousness, his eyes half opened. He looked around and said excitedly, "Is this the inside of the inscription gate?" Qin Yun smiled. "Yes, although this place is a little crude, its defense is very strong. Before I die, I'm satisfied to be able to see the true sacred land of our Blue Spirit Star Palace." Shui Yihui revealed a satisfied smile. It was as if he had long since become indifferent to life and death. Lan Fengjin also hurriedly came out of a secret chamber. After learning about the situation outside from Qin Yun, she was infuriated. Qin Yun, don't waste your energy on me. Shui Yihui's voice was very low and weak. No. I must cure you, Qin Yun said very seriously. If not for Shui Yihui's sudden appearance and self-destructing the pill Dao, Qin Yun would not have had the chance to escape. Shui Yihui was his savior. I don't even have my Dao core anymore. Even if I'm cured, I won't be able to live for long. Shui Yihui smiled faintly. You must promise me that in the future, you must carry forward the inscriptions of the inscription gate. Definitely. Qin Yun hurriedly nodded as he continued to channel his inner force into Shui Yihui's body. Suddenly, the Dragon Fist sect master's shout came from outside. Qin Yun, you good-for-nothing, hurry up and come out. You won't be able to hide inside for long. If nothing unexpected happens, the Violet Spirit Star Palace will be breached by us. When I capture your wife, Xiao Yuelon, you will still fall into my hands, ha ha ha. The Dragon Fist sect master only knew that the Violet Spirit Star Palace was missing 2 warriors of the Spirit Realm. He did not know that the 2 Spirit Realm cultivators had escorted Yang Shiyu and Xiao Yuelon to the martial desolate land. These guys, I will definitely kill them. Qin Yun is very angry. He grabbed the jade pendant tightly and closed his eyes to sense the information inside. This jade pendant could control the formation of the entire mysterious Silver Mountain. Within the mysterious Silver Mountain, there were many powerful formations. As long as one obtained that jade pendant, they would be able to control the activation of those formations. Sister Lan, take good care of Elder Shui. I'll take a rest first before going out to kill those guys. Qin Yun sat in the middle of the hall and controlled the mysterious Silver Mountain's array formation. He gathered the 9 suns' spiritual energy for them to absorb. The 9 suns' spiritual energy in the hall immediately became extremely dense and colorful. The spiritual energy could be seen with the naked eye, like clouds and mist. Shui Yihui and Lan Fengjin were extremely excited to see this level of 9 suns' spiritual energy. Master, are there many powerful formations in the mysterious Silver Mountain? Can it attack the outside? Lan Fengjin quickly asked. Yes. I'll give it a try in a moment. Even if I can't kill those bastards, I have to let them know what pain is. Qin Yun said coldly. The Dragon Fist Spirit Sect was acting alone and did not join forces with other sections. It could be seen that they had made sufficient preparations to annex the Violet Spirit Star Palace and take down the Blue Spirit Star Palace. The strength of the Dragon Fist Sect leader was not the strongest in the Dragon Fist Sect. Those elders were the strongest in the Spirit Realm, and they had all gone to attack the Violet Spirit Star Palace. There were also some elders overseeing the Violet Spirit Star Palace. If they were to fight, the commotion would definitely not be small. Qin Yun, not only do I want to capture your wife, I also want to kill my way to your Tianqin Empire. I want to kill all the people in the cities and use their corpses to feed the magical beasts. When the time comes, I will definitely capture your father and hang him here to beat him up, haha. The Dragon Fist Sect leader laughed loudly. Qin Yun was infuriated once again. He was so angry that the veins on his forehead bulged. Shui Yihui scolded, "These bastards, they came to this borderland and did whatever they wanted. They are just a bunch of lackeys that were abandoned by the Xian sections. That's why they were arranged here." The Violet Spirit Star Palace and the Dragon Fist Sect were arranged to be at the edge of the city. The Xian sects behind them no longer needed to provide resources to these spirit sections. It was equivalent to losing power. They really think that they are the kings of the mountains after coming here. Just you wait. Qin Yun was filled with rage as he sat in a formation in the middle of the hall, activating the great formation of the mysterious Silver Mountain. In the sky above the ruined Blue Spirit Star Palace, the thick clouds suddenly dispersed. Intense sunlight shone down, enveloping the ruins. The mysterious silver mountain shone with a gold and silver light as it crazily absorbed the spiritual energy contained within the 9 suns. The earth suddenly shook. The people below the mysterious silver mountain did not know what was going on. Is this place going to collapse? Maybe those old things self-destructed their Tao cores just now and caused a huge earthquake. The Dragon Fist sect leader said, "Everyone, don't panic. We can't leave this place right now. If Qin Yun were to escape, we would have come here for nothing." Just as he finished speaking, he sensed a strong energy flowing underground. "There's something down there," someone shouted. "Quickly float into the air." They had just discovered something. Many places on the ground suddenly cracked open. Suddenly, a large rock arm stretched out and grabbed many people's feet. The Dragon Fist sect leader was immediately alarmed. He took out a golden saber and slashed at the rock arm beneath his feet. Bang! When the saber slashed at the hard stone arm, it actually failed to cut it off. Furthermore, it even caused a very strong energy wave to splash out. "This is a killing formation," the Dragon Fist sect leader roared. Just as he finished speaking, strands of electricity seeped out from the stone arm and poured into his body, causing him to cry out loudly from the electricity. This was the killing formation of the inscription gate that Qin Yun had activated. It was called the Earth Lightning Claw and it was set up using star runes. The hundreds of people from the Dragon Fist sect were all grabbed by the Earth Lightning Claw. They were constantly being struck by the lightning that was being released. At this moment, they were all looking at the peak of the mysterious silver mountain. They discovered that the place was enveloped by a multicolored glow. The 9 suns' spiritual energy had turned into a mist that enveloped the top of the mountain. It was channeling energy to the mysterious silver mountain and activating the killing formation. This is the great formation of the inscription gate. The Dragon Fist sect leader cried out in pain. His body was constantly being infused with thunder and lightning power, causing him to feel incomparably numb from the electricity. At this moment, they were unable to mobilize their powerful strength. They also knew that the killing formation of the inscription gate was extremely terrifying. However, they never expected that it would be activated by Qin Yun. Just as they were feeling alarmed, they saw a person suddenly fly down from the top of the mountain. It was Qin Yun. Qin Yun was dressed in white, but his entire body was overflowing with black gas. "You bunch of bastards, you are courting death again and again. Since you are so eager to die, I will send you off." Qin Yun's cold voice was filled with boundless killing intent. It was as if it came from hell. The Dragon Fist sect leader was horrified. At this moment, they were trapped by the killing array and were unable to retaliate. This meant that they were about to be killed. "Qin Yun, we can discuss this. There's no need to fight to the death. I am the sect leader of the Dragon Fist Spirit Sect. I can promise you that the Dragon Fist Spirit Sect will merge with your Blue Spirit Star Palace." When the Dragon Fist Sect leader saw Qin Yun's murderous aura, his heart immediately turned cold as he hurriedly said. Qin Yun snorted coldly and slapped the Dragon Fist Sect leader's face. "Cut the crap. You previously said that you wanted to capture my wife and destroy my Tianqin Empire. This is a death grudge." The disciples here were all the most outstanding ones in the Dragon Fist sect. They were filled with incomparable respect for their sect leader. However, at this moment, the sect leader that they revered had been slapped in the face. Bang! 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 Qin Yun used the 10,000 horse palm to whip the Dragon Fist sect leader crazily, causing him to scream in anger. The disciples of the Dragon Fist sect were all dumbfounded. That was the high and mighty sect leader in their hearts. To think that he would be beaten up in such a manner. The Dragon Fist sect leader's heart was filled with incomparable humiliation. He was at the spirit realm. If he wasn't trapped by the formation, he would have been able to kill Qin Yun with a single palm strike. He who was humiliated to the extreme was also terrified to the extreme. This was because it was not easy for him to cultivate to the spirit martial realm. As long as his luck was not too bad, he would be able to live for a long time. To be able to stand above tens of thousands of people in the sect, one could live a carefree life. But now it was extremely likely that he would be killed by a young man who had just stepped into the martial Tao realm. Trash like you want to obtain the inheritance of the inscription gate? Dream on. Qin Yun sneered as he placed his palm on the abdomen of the Dragon Fist Sect Master. The Dragon Fist Sect Master let out a blood-curdling scream that pierced through the sky. It was extremely tragic. Those disciples can only see that a large hole has been ripped open on their sect master's abdomen and a platinum pearl is being slowly sucked out by Qin Yun. It was a Tao core. There were 9 life marks on it, and the 9 life marks were squirming. The Tao core of the spirit martial realm was actually like this. Qin Yun also looked at the Tao core in curiosity and astonishment. There were 9 levels in the martial body realm, and each level required the formation of a life mark. The process was extremely difficult and long. After condensing 9 life marks and cultivating them into a spirit, the life marks would be able to move and they would be at the spirit martial realm. The Dragon Fist Sect Master screamed in despair. This Tao core was his 1,000 years of cultivation, and it was taken out just like that. Qin Yun, you demon! If you hadn't come looking for trouble with me, you would have definitely been able to live a good life. You can't blame me for this. Qin Yun sneered before looking at the other 2 elders of the spirit realm. When the 2 elders of the spirit realm came into contact with Qin Yun's sharp gaze, their bodies could not help but tremble. Chapter 345. Lin Wu Dao Pil. Qin Yun was very grateful to the formation of the inscription gate. It prevented these people from retaliating. He walked in front of an old man at the spirit martial realm and took out the Tao core just like before. You, a demon like you, will be hunted down by thousands of sects in the martial desolate. Taking out a martial artist's Tao core is something that cannot be tolerated by the orthodox sections. You will be wanted by thousands of orthodox sects. The old man screamed. At the side, the Dragon Fist Sect Master seemed to have suddenly aged dozens of years. He said fiercely, Qin Yun, if this matter were to spread, you would be viewed as a member of the demonic Tao. Humph, could it be that your actions have been acknowledged by the orthodox sects? If that was the case, then those orthodox sects weren't good people either. You bunch of beasts have slaughtered many of our Blue Spirit Star Palace disciples. If the orthodox sects want to protect you, then how are they different from the demonic sects? Qin Yun sneered as he drew the 3rd spirit martial Tao core. After a series of miserable screams, the last martial Tao realm Tao core was taken out by Qin Yun. The disciples of the Dragon Fist sect were immediately filled with incomparable despair and fear. Their previous swagger had disappeared without a trace. The might they had displayed when they slaughtered the Star Palace disciples had already been obliterated by despair. The 3 warriors of the spirit martial realm had all gone through 1,000 years of cultivation to have today's powerful strength. Only then could they do evil everywhere and bully the weak. But now all of this was destroyed. You should have experienced what retribution is. Qin Yun looked at the Dragon Fist Sect Master with a cold expression. They had done too much evil, but they had never suffered any retribution, so they never thought that they would fall. With a cold expression, Qin Yun walked towards the martial Tao realm cultivators. Immediately they wailed. Qin Yun, let us go. We only killed a few Star Palace disciples. Is there a need to treat us like this? At most, we will capture a few hundred slaves for you. Those Star Palace disciples are all trash at the 6th or 7th level of the martial body realm. Yet, you want us to repay them with our lives. You are crazy. We will be your slaves. Don't take away our Tao cores, Qin Yun said coldly. It seems like you still don't know where you are wrong. With that, he fiercely took out a Tao core, causing the old man to howl in pain. The other martial Tao realm cultivators begged in despair as their Tao cores were taken away. Sister Lan, you can start now, Qin Yun shouted towards the top of the mountain. Lan Fengjin flew down from the top of the mountain with a long sword in her hand. She charged into the crowd and madly brandished her sword, crazily slashing at the group of Dragon Fist sect disciples. At this time, the three brothers who were hiding also rushed out. After obtaining Qin Yun's consent, they also went to kill the disciples of the Dragon Fist sect. Don't worry, after I get rid of you, I will deal with the rest of you, Qin Yun said to the dying sect master and then sent out a palm strike. Ah! That sect master screamed and was scared out of his mind. The other two warriors of the spirit realm were so terrified that their faces contorted. They regretted attacking Blue Spirit Star Palace, and they regretted attacking Qin Yun even more. You guys can go on your way too. Qin Yun used the Heavenly Lion's fighting dragon claw and with a few swipes, he killed the two elders of the spirit realm. Following that, he charged towards the martial Tao realm cultivators and used the 6-style Wind Slayer to continuously slash at them with his lion claws. Qin Yun recalled the elders who had self-destructed in order to save him. His killing intent immediately surged as he mercilessly killed them. The foot of the mysterious Silver Mountain was shrouded in cries of fear. However, it only lasted for a moment before it stopped. The Dragon Fist Spirit Sect, 3 at the Spirit Realm, more than 20 at the Martial Tao Realm and hundreds of Martial Body disciples were all killed at the foot of the mysterious Silver Mountain. Qin Yun returned to the hall and controlled the array to retract it. As for Lan Fengjin and the three brothers, they were burning the corpses below. Elder Shui, all the villains who attacked our Blue Spirit Star Palace are dead. Qin Yun looked at Shui Yihui who was sitting on a chair and felt very sad. Shui Yihui was extremely weak and could not hold on for more than a few days. That's good, that's good. Shui Yihui was also very happy. His wrinkled face was filled with a smile. Qin Yun recalled the Tao cores he had taken out and hurriedly said, Elder Shui, you don't have any Tao cores, which is why you became like this. How about I put the Tao cores I obtained into your body? This. I don't know if it will work, but I can give it a try. I'm about to die anyway. Shui Yihui smiled. Do whatever you want. This can also increase your experience in this area. Qin Yun took out the Tao cores of the martial Tao realm. The power that Shui Yihui's body could withstand was only at the martial Tao realm, so he could not use the Tao cores of the spirit realm. These Tao cores are all connected to Master's soul, and there are a lot of Master's various mental powers within them. The energy within these Tao cores is also very turbid. After Qin Yun inspected it, he frowned. He first extracted the martial spirits from the Tao cores one by one. Most of them were gold and platinum martial spirit. Shui Yihui's original martial spirit was a water martial spirit, and among those martial spirits, there was also a platinum water martial spirit. Qin Yun took out the furnace and placed all the Tao cores of the martial Tao realm inside. Then, he used his powerful mental energy to sense the Tao cores. He wanted to remove the energy that entangled his soul and mind from the Tao cores. Only by doing so would he be able to obtain extremely pure energy. 80 to 90% of the energy within each Tao core carried the mental and soul power of the original owner. This was something that could not be used, so it was eliminated by Qin Yun. After he had selected and refined more than 20 Tao cores, there was only a small amount of inner force left within them. Under his control, he fused the 20 or so Tao cores together into a single Tao core. Then, he used the soul refining technique to fuse the platinum water martial spirit into it. There are no great Tao life marks. After Qin Yun finished refining, more than half a day had passed. Lan Fengjin and the three brothers were watching from the side. "Master, hurry up. Elder Shui can't hold on any longer," Lan Fengjin urged. Qin Yun gritted his teeth and placed the Dao core into Shui Yihui's mouth. Then, he used his mental energy to control the Dao core into his abdomen and then guided the Dao core's spiritual aura to pulse. After resting for a period of time, Shui Yihui's spirit gradually improved. "Elder Shui, try to control your three great scriptures and establish a connection with the Dao core." Qin Yun was slightly delighted as he hurriedly said. Shui Yihui had almost died just now. Now that he could open his eyes, they were no longer as turbid as before. They had become clear and bright, filled with traces of life. "It's a success!" De Yao cried out in alarm. "Master, you're too awesome. You actually gave Elder Shui a new Dao core." Lan Fengjin also laughed in pleasant surprise. Shui Yihui felt his body gradually regain its vitality. Waves of pure energy came out from his dantian, nourishing his dying body, causing him to feel his strength gradually recovering. He also tried to control his three great scriptures and connect them with the new Dao core. "Sister Lan, Triple Radiance, wait for me here. I'll go take a look at the Violet Spirit Star Palace." Qin Yun said, "The Violet Spirit Star Palace is very strong. If they are destroyed, this border area will be occupied by the Wind Spirit Sect and the Floating Spirit Valley. These two sects are not good people either." Lan Fengjin nodded and said, "Master, be careful." Qin Yun flew from the peak of the mysterious Silver Mountain towards the Violet Spirit Star Palace. As he flew high in the sky and neared the Violet Spirit Star Palace, he sensed a very strong aura rising from below and covering the top of the Violet Spirit Star Palace. Qin Yun was no stranger to this aura. It belonged to Zi Qingqing. Zi Qingqing was fighting with someone at the Spirit Martial Realm. "Have they been fighting for more than half a day?" From high up in the sky, Qin Yun saw that the area within a radius of dozens of miles of the Violet Spirit Star Palace was riddled with potholes. Sure enough, in front of the main entrance of the Violet Spirit Star Palace, there were hundreds of disciples wearing golden dragon robes. They were all from the Dragon Fist sect. There are also 3 people at the spirit realm here, and they're at the Doyan level. Qin Yun sensed the aura below and said with a frown, "On the side of the Violet Spirit Star Palace, there's only Zi Qingqing's aura. Could it be that she's fighting 1 against 3? He took a closer look and saw that Zi Qingqing was engaged in an intense battle with a golden-haired old man. Every time they made a move, it would cause a huge commotion. It would set off waves of violent winds that seemed to be able to tear apart the world. The people from the Dragon Fist sect here don't seem to know that their sect leader has been killed by me." Qin Yun watched from the sky. He did not know what was going on. He only saw that Zi Qingqing was sparring with an old man. Qin Yun thought of Lan Chen. Back then, Lan Chen had lost to Zi Qingqing in a martial arts competition. As a result, he had lost control of the Blue Spirit Star Palace. He guessed that the battle between Zi Qingqing and the old man might also decide the fate of the Violet Spirit Star Palace. Zi Qingqing suddenly let out a stern shout as a purple-gold light flashed behind her. A purple-gold rock flew out from the purple-gold light and let out a clear cry. It was Zi Qingqing's martial spirit, the purple-gold rock. The purple-gold rock spread its wings for dozens of meters. It was extremely huge, and after flying out, it charged towards the old man at the spirit realm at lightning speed. The old man did not expect that Zi Qingqing would release her martial spirit to fight. Furthermore, the rock's flying speed was extremely fast, like a violent bolt of lightning. The purple-gold rock flew over and its sharp beak smashed apart the defensive light screen that the old man had released. Bang! The old man's body was ruthlessly struck by the purple-gold rock. He landed on the ground and created a deep crater. His body cracked, and the armor on his body was also destroyed. He lay on the ground and fainted. Zi Qingqing panted slightly as she retracted her martial spirit. A guy at the spirit realm is indeed powerful. The martial spirit he released is actually so terrifying. Qin Yun yearned for this kind of power. He thought of Xie Wufeng's sword. It seemed to be in such a powerful state. Zi Qingqing was also tired. She slowly landed on the ground, and her slightly round face was ice cold. You've lost. According to the agreement, your Dragon Fist sect will be merged into our Violet Spirit Star Palace. There were 2 old men at the spirit realm here. When they heard Zi Qingqing's words, they laughed out loud. We are not the sect leader, how can we decide such a thing? Zi Qingqing, you are too naive. Chapter 346. The sect leader exploded. When Qin Yun saw the disgusted expression on Zi Qingqing's face, he knew what she was feeling. Mistress, we will close the formation and let you in. On the wall of the Violet Spirit Star Palace, an old woman hurriedly shouted. Please don't. Once the formation is activated, they will definitely attack. We've fallen into a trap. Zi Qingqing shouted anxiously. Don't close the formation. Qin Yun was secretly alarmed when he heard that. Zi Qingqing came out to accept the challenge. She thought that it would be fine as long as she won, but she didn't expect the other party to be so sinister. Now, she had won, but she had also expended a lot of energy. As for the Dragon Fist Spirit sect, there were still 2 very strong spirit realm cultivators. Ha ha! Little girl. You are a few hundred years younger than me, but you have the same cultivation level as us. Furthermore, you can stay young forever. How enviable! The wretched hunchbacked old man laughed sinisterly and took out a black wolf teeth club. Zi Qingqing gritted her teeth and hurriedly soared into the sky. She wanted to escape from this place, but she was struck down by another one-eyed old man with a punch. How despicable of you! Aren't you afraid that the higher-ups will find out? Zi Qingqing said angrily. The hunchbacked old man laughed loudly and said, We are all abandoned sects, they don't care if we live or die here. He even hopes that we will kill each other. This way, the winner will become stronger and be able to concentrate his strength to search for clues to the immortal graveyard. The one-eyed old man sneered. Zi Qingqing, since you obtained Xiao Yuelon, you must have grasped the clues to the immortal graveyard. Do you want to head to the immortal graveyard alone and seize the immortal treasures inside? Zi Qingqing hurriedly swallowed a golden pellet. She had to quickly recover her energy, or else she would definitely be taken down. Palace Master, do you want us to go out? An old woman shouted worriedly. No, don't come out. You are the last guarantee of the Violet Spirit Star Palace. Zi Qingqing shouted sternly. I am the Palace Master, you must listen to my orders. No matter what, you cannot close the formation, nor can you come out. All of you must protect the Violet Spirit Star Palace. Zi Qingqing's expression was resolute, as if she was prepared for the worst. She, who was exhausted, had no chance of winning against 2 powerful spirit martial realm martial artists. Let's see how long you can last. The hunchbacked old man sneered and flew over. He quickly waved the wolf teeth rod in his hand. That was a Xian artifact. The power it released was extremely terrifying, causing the soil on the ground to fly up. The one-eyed old man also attacked. His weapon was a long trident. He rushed over from behind and stabbed at Zi Qingqing. The weapons Zi Qingqing used were 2 long purple hooks, which were also Xian artifact. The old woman on the door scolded, Dragon Fist Spirit Sect, you guys are fighting 2 against 1, and you even took advantage of the time when people are tired to attack. How shameless! So what if I'm shameless? You old hag, just you wait. It won't be long before I strip off your palace master, and let all the disciples enjoy her, ha ha. The hunchbacked old man laughed sinisterly. The disciples of the Dragon Fist Spirit sect also shouted excitedly. Zi Qingqing was furious. Moreover, she had been hit a few times and her injuries were not light. Her purple dress was dyed red with blood. The old women from the Violet Spirit Star Palace were also incomparably furious and sad. This was because they could not help their palace mistress when she was being humiliated outside. Previously, when Qin Yun saw the disciples of the Dragon Fist sect humiliating a woman on the battling platform in the Violet Spirit Star Palace, he knew that this sect was not a good thing. Now, even the strongest elders of the Dragon Fist sect were of the same character. This group of fellows still claimed to be from an orthodox sect. Perhaps even the devil sect isn't as vicious as them. Qin Yun sneered in his heart as he took out a Dao core of the spirit realm. The moment this Dao core appeared, it emitted waves of aura. When the hunchbacked old man and the one-eyed old man sensed this aura, their faces were filled with joy. As for Zi Qingqing, her expression suddenly changed. It was filled with despair. Haha, the sect leader is here. It looks like he has already taken down the Blue Spirit Star Palace. Zi Qingqing, you slut, just surrender. Don't hurt your body, otherwise how will we enjoy it? It really is the aura of the sect leader. The pure and clean Violet Spirit Palace mistress will soon be ours, haha. The disciples of the Dragon Fist Spirit sect all laughed sinisterly, causing Zi Qingqing to feel angry and disgusted. Boom. Zi Qingqing was unable to do as she wished and was also extremely tired. She was accidentally hit by the Wolf Teeth Club and was sent flying. The disciples of the Violet Spirit Star Palace, who were standing on the wall, looked at Zi Qingqing, who had fallen to the ground with tears streaming down their faces. The hunchbacked old man and the one-eyed old man originally wanted to go over, but when they sensed their sect leader's aura approaching Zi Qingqing, they stopped. Sect leader, I'll leave it to you in the end. Sect leader, you really came at the right time. We just beat that slut to the ground and you came over to take advantage of her, haha. Just as the two elders of the spirit realm finished speaking, they saw a white-clothed Qin Yun land beside Zi Qingqing. Zi Qingqing also thought that the Dragon Fist sect leader had come because she could sense the aura of the Dragon Fist sect leader. However, she never expected that the person who had come was actually Qin Yun. Elder, that fellow is Qin Yun. Why does he have the aura of the sect leader? Qin Yun, you. What's that in your hand? When the hunchbacked old man saw the golden bead in Qin Yun's hand, he cried out involuntarily. Zi Qingqing also saw the shining bead in Qin Yun's hand. It was a Dao core. On the wall, the few old women at the martial Dao realm from the Violet Spirit Star Palace were all shocked. What Qin Yun held in his hand was the Dao core of the Dragon Fist sect leader. That meant that the Dragon Fist sect leader had been killed by Qin Yun. As for Qin Yun, he was only at the martial Dao realm. He was actually able to kill someone at the spirit realm and even took out such a complete Dao core. This immediately shocked the entire audience. Everyone looked at the shining bead and fell into a momentary daze. Hua! The disciples of the Dragon Fist Spirit sect let out a sorrowful cry. Sect leader's Dao core. The sect leader is dead. How is this possible? Qin Yun killed the sect leader. The sect leader is at the spirit realm. Even someone at the spirit realm would not be able to kill him easily. This is not true. Quickly kill him. Elders, quickly kill him and avenge the sect leader. The disciples of the Dragon Fist Spirit sect cried out in grief and indignation as if they had lost their parent. They could not believe that this was true. Qin Yun looked at the two elders and smiled coldly. Don't be sad. I'll return the sect leader to you right now. Take it. Don't let your sect leader explode. With that, he hurriedly picked up Zi Qingqing and poured a wave of energy into the spirit martial Dao core before throwing it out. Run! The hunchbacked old man was at the spirit realm, but he could not stand the explosion of a spirit realm Dao core. Boom! The Tao core exploded, releasing a large amount of golden light. It created a golden astral wind that enveloped an area of a few hundred miles. The people who were enveloped within screamed miserably. A martial artist of the martial body realm was torn to shreds. The people in the Violet Spirit Star Palace were not affected due to the protection of the Great Formation. However, they were still shocked by that terrifying power. After a while, the world quietened down and the thick dust dispersed. In front of the entrance of the Violet Spirit Star Palace, there was a huge crater. There were still more than 20 people alive in this deep pit. There was not a single piece of flesh on their bodies that was unharmed. Most of them had their hands and feet torn apart. It was a tragic sight. Even the 2 cultivators of the spirit martial realm were struggling in the ground and wailing. They were both seriously injured. Palace Master Qin Yun, the old woman on the wall, shouted, "Ha ha ha ha, they're also dead." The hunchbacked old man spat out a mouthful of blood as he spoke. The hearts of the people from the Violet Spirit Star Palace trembled as they looked at the huge pit that was a few hundred meters wide in grief. They looked at the flat ground around the huge pit as they searched for Qin Yun and Zi Qingqing. "Don't shout, they're all dead." The one-eyed old man laughed and said, "Although we're seriously injured, we're still alive, ha ha." Just as he finished speaking, he sensed movement underground. Voila! A shadow flew up from the ground. It was Qin Yun. He carried Zi Qingqing and rushed into the sky from the ground. When he landed, he ruthlessly stomped on the hunchbacked old man's abdomen. Ah! The hunchbacked old man's blood-curdling screams pierced through the clouds, sending chills down one's spine. Qin Yun had been carrying Zi Qingqing earlier. Then, he used the Earth Escape Talisman to hide deep underground. He was not affected. "Put me down," Zi Qingqing said softly. "I'm feeling better." After Qin Yun put her down, he fiercely stomped on the hunchbacked elder a few more times, causing the elder's voice to turn hoarse. When the martial Tao realm disciples of the Dragon Fist sect saw this scene, they felt extreme despair. Even their elders of the spirit martial realm were ravaged by Qin Yun. The consequences for them could be imagined. "Qin Yun, you little bastard!" Before the one-eyed elder could finish cursing, Qin Yun had already sent him flying with a kick. Then, he grabbed him through the air and placed him together with the hunchbacked elder. He took out the giant king spirit hammer and used the 6-style forging dragon, constantly hammering the 2 spirit realm cultivators. A martial artist of the spiritual martial realm would not die so easily. Qin Yun continuously struck them with the 6-style forging dragon, causing them to scream miserably. The martial Tao realm and spirit martial realm elders of the Violet Spirit Star Palace also came out. They stood beside the crater and stared blankly at Qin Yun. Their hearts were filled with extreme shock. The young Qin Yun was actually able to beat up a powerful spirit realm cultivator. Zi Qingqing was also watching from the side. Her beautiful eyes widened. Even she was somewhat astonished as she secretly feared Qin Yun's ability. "The Tao core has shattered, it's useless." Qin Yun curled his lips inwardly as he extracted the martial spirits of the 2 elders. They were both platinum martial spirit. One was a staff martial spirit and the other was a cross martial spirit. After the martial spirit was extracted, even those at the spirit realm were half dead. Qin Yun took out a furnace and placed the 2 elders at the spirit realm into it to be incinerated. "Qin Yun, leave those martial Tao realm cultivators to us," a middle-aged woman suddenly said before flying over. Chapter 347. Purple Fairy Pond. Zi Qingqing looked around. Originally, there were many trees planted outside, but now it had become a mess. She recalled the thrilling experience just now and felt a lingering fear in her heart. She had almost died. Qin Yun also went over and extracted the martial Tao realm martial spirits one by one. Although they were all relatively weak martial spirits, They could be preserved for a long time. They might even be useful in the future. Qin Yun, you were also injured just now, right? Come with me. After Zi Qingqing finished speaking, she immediately grabbed Qin Yun's hand, worried that he would run away. Qin Yun was indeed quite tired. Although he ran very fast, he was still affected a little. Where to? He asked. I'll take you to heal your injuries. Zi Qingqing pulled Qin Yun and floated in the air. There was a small lake in the center of the Violet Spirit Star Palace. On the small island in the middle of the lake, there were many purple flowers and trees. It was a very beautiful purple garden. In the garden, there was a 3-story pavilion. This was Zi Qingqing's Qingqing Pavilion. Zi Qingqing led Qin Yun into the first level. After passing through a few corridors, they walked down a staircase that led underground. Not long after, they arrived at a stone room filled with gentle white light. In the stone room, there was a round pool that was 5 to 6 meters wide. The water in the pool was purple, and it was emitting a purple mist. Sister Steamed Bun, I seem to have saved you twice, right? Qin Yun stood beside the pool and said with a smile. Zi Qingqing snorted, Don't call me Sister Steamed Bun. Sister Steamed Bun, Sister Steamed Bun, Sister Steamed Bun. Qin Yun insisted on calling her. Furthermore, he called her a few times, causing her to stomp her feet in anger. That's right, you did save me twice. Then now, I will repay you by letting you enter my violet immortal pond. Zi Qingqing pointed at the pond and said. Qin Yun looked at the pool and said with a frown, Is this purple immortal pool very powerful? Of course it's powerful. The reason why I can't look old is because of this purple immortal pond. Not only can it heal injuries, but it can also temper the body. Zi Qingqing said proudly, This is my secret. Where did this water come from? Qin Yun asked again. Don't worry about it. Are you going down or not? Zi Qingqing snorted. Qin Yun curled his lips and said, I want to take off my clothes, you turn around. Zi Qingqing blushed and quickly turned around. She only turned around when she heard a putong sound. How do you feel? She asked quickly. Qin Yun sensed it slightly and discovered that the energy in the purple immortal pool was extremely special. It was a type of 9 suns spiritual energy. Although it was only a single type of 9 suns spiritual energy, after it was condensed into a liquid, it had a very significant contribution. Some of the hidden injuries in his body and his exhausted body quickly recovered after absorbing the energy from the purple celestial pool. Moreover, he also felt that his body was numb, warm, and comfortable. His flesh and blood were being strengthened. Not bad. He sighed comfortably and closed his eyes. Not long after he closed his eyes, he felt the ripples in the purple immortal pool. He quickly opened his eyes and saw Zi Qingqing soaking in the pool. She only revealed her snow-white shoulders, but it made one's imagination run wild. You! How could you do this? This is too shameless. Qin Yun was stunned for a moment before he hurriedly said. It took me 100 years to collect this purple immortal's due. Of course I have to come down as well. When Zi Qingqing saw Qin Yun's disdainful expression, she could not help but have a face full of hidden bitterness. Qin Yun warned with a serious expression, Sister Steamed Bun, don't come over and touch me. To think that you are so pure and clean, to think that you would be so brazenly in the same pool as me. Are you wearing any clothes? Zi Qingqing was so angry that she bared her teeth and said, I'm not wearing anything, what's wrong? Then don't act recklessly. Qin Yun hurriedly shrank into a corner. You little brat, seriously? I was worried that you would act recklessly. Zi Qingqing snorted and turned her head away, no longer looking at him. Qin Yun said with a serious expression, Sister Steamed Bun, are you trying to seduce me? When Zi Qingqing heard that, she hurriedly said, What are you thinking? Quickly close your eyes and absorb the energy of the purple immortal dew. Qin Yun did not say anything else. He clamped his legs together and shyly shrunk into a corner. He even closed his eyes vigilantly. When Zi Qingqing saw his appearance, she could not help but giggle. She asked with a charming smile, "Little rascal, you can't still be a fledgling, right? I am as pure as ice and as clean as jade. Naturally, I can't compare to an experienced steamed bun like you." Qin Yun snorted. "Don't talk nonsense. All these years, only you have seen me." Zi Qingqing thought of that matter and spat. When Qin Yun heard that, he became even more worried. He rolled his eyes at Zi Qingqing and said, "Then why are you still laughing at me? You're a 1,000-year-old leftover woman." "Damn brat, don't talk nonsense. I'm not even 1,000 years old." Zi Qingqing hurriedly splashed some water at Qin Yun. Qin Yun closed his eyes and ignored Zi Qingqing. He calmly absorbed the energy of the purple immortal pond. After more than 20 hours, he opened his eyes and saw that the pool of water had turned transparent. Zi Qingqing also stood up from the pool and walked up. Qin Yun widened his eyes as he looked at her. "You lied to me. You actually put on your clothes and came down." Qin Yun harumphed. Zi Qingqing only used a purple cloth to wrap her chest and waist. However, one could still see her slender, jade-like legs. "Disappointed, aren't you?" Zi Qingqing said with a pleased smile. "Damn steamed bun." Qin Yun hurriedly stood up and put on his clothes. He felt that his body had become much stronger. He had just stepped into the martial Dao realm. After soaking in the purple immortal dew, it also helped him consolidate his cultivation. What surprised him was that the star crystal in his mind had turned silver. This meant that his mental strength had increased by a lot. "Sister Steamed Bun, your purple immortal dew seems to be able to increase your mental strength. How did you do it?" Qin Yun hurriedly asked. "Secret." When Zi Qingqing saw the joy on Qin Yun's face, she said, "Originally, I could soak myself for more than 10 days. It hasn't even been a day since you came in." "Then let me know the next time you make it. Let's continue." Qin Yun chuckled. "That will depend on whether or not we are fated. Because this will happen 100 years later. In 100 years, many things can happen." Zi Qingqing sighed softly and led Qin Yun out. Qin Yun's star crystal was originally a transparent crystal, but now it had turned silver. This meant that he had improved greatly. It was also because he had absorbed a large portion of the purple immortal dew's energy. "Qin Yun, in a few days, the 2 old grannies who escorted Yuelon will be back. At that time, I will cross the martial desolate with you." Zi Qingqing brought Qin Yun to the living room above and said. Qin Yun had wanted to go to the martial desolate for a long time. He nodded repeatedly. "I'll go with Sister Lan." Zi Qingqing said, "Are you staying here or are you going back to the mysterious Silver Mountain first?" "I'm going back." Qin Yun said, "Before I leave, let me pinch your little bun face." "No, hurry up and leave." When Zi Qingqing heard that, she said somewhat angrily, "I've saved you twice. It's a life-saving grace." Qin Yun stuck out his tongue. "Good people don't get rewarded." "All right then, pinch it." Zi Qingqing thought about it. If Qin Yun had not saved her twice, the consequences would have been dire. Qin Yun chuckled as he extended his hands to rub Zi Qingqing's beautiful, slightly round face. After rubbing it for a while, he finally stopped in satisfaction. "You little rascal!" Zi Qingqing's face turned red from being pinched. She rolled her eyes at Qin Yun and said angrily, "Hurry up and leave." Qin Yun chuckled as he whistled and flew towards the entrance of the Violet Spirit Star Palace. When Qin Yun returned to the mysterious Silver Mountain, the sky gradually darkened. Shui Yihui sat cross-legged in the hall of the Inscription Gate, absorbing a large amount of 9 suns' spiritual energy. His complexion had become much better and the wrinkles on his face had magically disappeared. Unfortunately, this great formation can only be activated once every 10 years. Qin Yun said with some regret. The activation of a great formation had a certain amount of time. The main thing was to accumulate enough energy. This process was very long. Shui Yihui sighed and said, "I'm already very satisfied to be able to keep my life. Thank you, sect leader." "You're welcome. If it wasn't for Elder Shui's help, I might have been finished." Qin Yun smiled before taking out a piece of paper and handing it to Shui Yihui. Lan Fengjin was also here. She leaned over to take a look and read the words on it: Star Underworld, Sun View, Heart Firm, Spirit Condensed Star. The 9 suns are different, the divine abilities are myriad, the sun god's soul flying, the divine abilities enter the body. After she finished reading, she said in surprise, Isn't this the mantra left behind by Patriarch Lan Shao to fool us for thousands of years?" Qin Yun smiled. "This is true. It's called the Star Yang Heart Sutra, but you guys have yet to comprehend it." Shui Yihui clearly remembered that when he first met Qin Yun had obtained these 2 chants. However, at that time, he had also said that this was a joke made by Patriarch Lan Shao. The Blue Spirit Star Palace had already been destroyed, so all that was left was the inscription gate. Those who could still stay here were all loyal and devoted to the Blue Spirit Star Palace. Qin Yun felt that Shui Yihui and company were qualified to comprehend the Star Yang Heart Sutra. Shui Yihui, the 3 brothers and Lan Fengjin all looked at Qin Yun in surprise. "I've only comprehended the first sentence, but I've benefited a lot from it." Qin Yun smiled and began to talk about his understanding of the first sentence, as well as the need to cultivate a primordial spirit in order to cultivate the star refining spirit chapter. This caused Lan Fengjin and company to be stunned. Finally, Qin Yun also mentioned the mysterious trial path of the inscription gate, causing Shui Yihui and company to exclaim in surprise. Qin Yun stood at the entrance of the cave and looked at the ruins of the Blue Spirit Star Palace. He also mentioned what had happened at the entrance of the Violet Spirit Star Palace yesterday. The fact that so many of the Dragon Fist Spirit Sect's spirit martial realm had been annihilated made Shui Yihui very happy. This meant that in the following period of time, the Violet Spirit Star Palace would be the strongest. Even if the Floating Spirit Valley and the Wind Spirit Sect joined forces, they would still not be a match for the Violet Spirit Star Palace. Elder Shui, Triple Radiance. I'm preparing to go to the Martial Desolate. I'll leave this inscription gate to you guys. I'll refine a jade pendant for you to enter and exit the hall. Qin Yun said. Shui Yihui nodded. You can only grow faster if you go to the Martial Desolate. I'm going to rest. You guys properly comprehend the Star Yang Heart Sutra. It won't be too late to cultivate the mental cultivation method after you cultivate your primordial spirit. After Qin Yun finished speaking, he entered a secret chamber. Now, he finally had the time to break through the formation of the second bead of the 9 Yang Divine Spirit. Chapter 348. 348 Chapter 348 Mysterious Pill Scripture. In a stone room, Qin Yun permeated his mental energy into the second bead. Soon, he saw the formation that was blocking his mental energy from advancing. If it was before, it would have taken him a lot of time to break through this formation. But now, after soaking in the purple immortal dew, his spirit star crystal had become much stronger, causing his mental energy to advance by leaps and bounds. In less than half a day's time, he had used his silver-colored mental force to break through the array. Qin Yun was immediately excited as he checked the space inside the second bead. The second bead's space was not big. It was only the size of a small room, and there was only one book inside. With a thought, he took out the book and held it in his hand. This book was golden in color and had a total of more than 100 pages. Each page was made from a very thin golden beast skin. From this, it could be seen that the content recorded in it was extremely important. Qin Yun flipped through it and was alarmed. There were actually many pill formulas recorded in this book. They were all Xian pill formulas. Not only were there pill formulas, there were also detailed records of the required medicinal herbs and their cultivation experiences. Other than the pill formulas, it also recorded the refining methods of the utensils needed to refine medicine. Qin Yun had also heard that refining pills and medicines required a certain level of foundation in refining inscriptions. This could be used to refine different medicinal herbs into the corresponding utensils, allowing one to quickly refine pills and medicines. These utensils all need to be engraved with star or moon runes needed to refine medicine. This book has all of them. Qin Yun's heart skipped a beat. One had to know that the alchemy runes needed to refine pills were only royal-grade spirit runes or Xian runes. As for the alchemy runes in the mysterious pill scripture, there were both star runes and moon runes. The required medicinal herbs are not easy to find. I can only go to the martial desolate land and start again. As he flipped through the book, a very thin token suddenly fell out. It was only a little thicker than paper, but it was extremely sturdy and golden in color. Ancient Garden Pass. When Qin Yun saw the words on it, he did not know what the ancient garden meant. He could only ask about it in the future. He opened the second bead and his harvest was great. Pills were necessary for one's cultivation to increase. Alchemists and inscriptionists were equally respected. After Qin Yun came out of the secret chamber, he made a trip to the Tianqin Empire's imperial palace and found Qin Long. "Father, I'm preparing to go to the Martial Desolate." Qin Yun said, "When are you going?" "I plan to wait a little longer. Let's wait until the situation here stabilizes." Qin Long patted Qin Yun on the shoulder. "Little Yun, you're not even 20 years old and you're already in the martial Dao realm. I don't have to worry about you. If you go to the Martial Desolate, you must always be on guard against Totem Pavilion." "Totem Pavilion? What does it do?" Qin Yun asked immediately. Qin Long's voice was cold and he said solemnly, "They specialize in collecting totem patterns. If you have a totem on your arm, they will chop it off. If you have a totem in your heart, they will dig out your heart. If you have a totem on your face, they will behead you." Isn't this an existence from the Fiend sect?" Qin Yun exclaimed. "No. It was said that Totem Pavilion was spread throughout the Magical Desolate, Demon Desolate and Martial Desolate. Furthermore, they are very powerful. Many king-level sects have close cooperation with Totem Pavilion." Qin Long warned, "When you go to the Martial Desolate, you must pay extra attention. There are very few people who know about Totem Pavilion. This is a very mysterious existence." Qin Long also had a totem, and it was a mysterious dragon totem. "Alright, you just need to pay attention. In the future, we father and son will definitely meet in the Martial Desolate." Qin Long smiled. "Don't worry, go and see the vast world of martial arts." Qin Yun nodded. He was also overwhelmed with emotions. When he thought of the grand world of the Martial Desolate, he wished he could immediately go and experience it. "Alright, this is something that an old man called Wu Xiang gave me." Qin Long took out a large box and handed it to Qin Yun. Qin Yun opened it and was slightly delighted. "It's Xian Yuan steel iron. It can refine Xian Yuan steel and is something needed to refine Xian artifacts. Your friend is quite powerful too." Qin Long chuckled. Qin Yun put away the box of Xian Yuan steel iron. He wanted to give Qin Long some beast oil, but Qin Long did not want it. In the end, the father and son duo had a few good drinks before saying their goodbyes. Qin Yun felt that his father definitely knew something about the immortal graveyard. He just did not say it out loud. Qin Yun returned to the mysterious Silver Mountain and quickly refined a few jade pendants. He gave them to Shui Yihui and Triple Radiance so that they could enter and exit the hall and activate some array formations. Zi Qingqing had already arrived outside the cave at the top of the mysterious Silver Mountain. She was wearing light purple clothes and pants. She did not have any gorgeous headgear on her head. However, she had 2 beautiful purple earrings, and the headband she used to tie her ponytail was also purple. Her current attire was very refreshing and simple. She looked full of youthful energy, like a very lively little girl. Lan Fengjin, on the other hand, was dressed in a fiery hot outfit. She wore light blue shorts that revealed her sexy waist. She wore a short-sleeved shirt that was extremely fiery hot. The first time Qin Yun saw her, she was dressed like this. In the past 2 days, we've already gone to take care of the remnants of the Dragon Fist sect. We've wiped them all out, Zi Qingqing said when she saw Qin Yun come out. Is there still a spirit martial realm in the Dragon Fist sect? Qin Yun asked. No more. There are more than 10 people in the martial Dao realm, but they have all been killed by us. Zi Qingqing took out her purple gold carriage and opened the door for Qin Yun and Lan Fengjin to enter. When Shui Yihui saw that Zi Qingqing was accompanying him to the martial desolate land, he felt much more at ease. Qin Yun, don't worry. When I have time, I will visit the Tianqin Empire more often. Shui Yihui waved his hand and bid farewell to Qin Yun. My lord, the next time you come back, we will definitely become stronger. De Yao laughed. Du Gue also agreed to accept the 3 brothers as his students and guide them in their cultivation of mental energy. All right, we'll meet again, Qin Yun shouted. Zi Qingqing controlled the carriage and flew into the depths of the Cloud Dragon mountain range. The Cloud Dragon River roared and roared as it became more and more turbulent. Even though Qin Yun and company were sitting in the carriage, they could still hear the furious roar of the waves below. Lan Fengjin looked out of the window and said faintly, I wonder if grandfather and the others are going to the martial desolate land or to investigate the immortal graveyard. They should be going to the martial desolate land. Zi Qingqing asked, Fengjin, do you plan on following Qin Yun? Of course, he's my master. If I don't follow him, who should I follow? Lan Fengjin said as she looked at Qin Yun with a gentle smile. Zi Qingqing said, I have a few friends in the spirit realm in the martial desolate land. They are all women and they have quite a high status in the Xian sections. Do you want to follow them? Lan Fengjin looked at Qin Yun and did not immediately make a decision. Qin Yun asked, Sister Steamed Bun, did you send Yuelan and the others to a Xian sect? Moon Profound Valley. When you go to the martial desolate land, you will know that this is a very powerful place, Zi Qingqing said. It's actually the Moon Profound Valley. That is a Xian sect that can be ranked in the top 10 in the martial desolate land. Furthermore, they are all women, Lan Fengjin said in surprise. She also felt some yearning. Qin Yun said with a smile, Sister Lan, do you want to go as well? I am a little bit, because I heard that there is a cultivation technique that is suitable for women to cultivate. It can allow women to advance by leaps and bounds and maintain their youth forever, Lan Fengjin said. I can arrange for you to enter. Zi Qingqing chuckled. So Sister Steamed Bun is from the Moon Profound Valley, but she was chased out. Qin Yun chuckled. Zi Qingqing hurriedly glared at Qin Yun. After all, this was her disgraceful past. Lan Fengjin also found it strange. Why did Qin Yun call Zi Qingqing Sister Steamed Bun? However, she did not ask. She only asked curiously, Sister Qingqing, why were you chased out? Because she often steals food and grows too fat. She shames the Moon Profound Valley, so she was chased out. Qin Yun said with a laugh, Look at her face. It looks like a bun. Zi Qingqing snorted. You little rascal, do you believe that I won't throw you out right now? Lan Fengjin could not help but laugh and said, Sister Qingqing is not fat. It's just that her face is a little round. Not long after the carriage flew over the Cloud Dragon River, a low roar suddenly came from outside. Qin Yun hurriedly retracted the smile on his face and opened the window to look outside. Did I hear wrongly? I heard something roaring just now. Qin Yun asked. We have crossed the Cloud Dragon River now. There are many powerful demonic beasts and magical beasts here. Zi Qingqing's expression was solemn as she hurriedly controlled the carriage to enter the clouds and hide. Lan Fengjin said, Master, you didn't hear wrongly. I also heard the roar just now. This kind of beast's voice is very scary. Qin Yun and Lan Fengjin looked at the solemn Zi Qingqing. Sister Qingqing, what kind of beast is that? Lan Fengjin asked softly. I'm not sure, unless I can hear it again. Just as Zi Qingqing finished speaking, the roar sounded out again. Hearing this sound, Zi Qingqing's expression suddenly changed. She hurriedly controlled the carriage to land in the forest below and hid in the crown of a huge tree. Seeing her reaction, Qin Yun and Lan Fengjin knew that the beast that had roared was extremely terrifying. What is it? Qin Yun asked hurriedly. It's a dragon. Zi Qingqing was so scared that her face turned pale. I've heard the sounds of many ancient beasts from some of the sound shells left behind from ancient times, and the dragon's roar is the easiest to remember. I can't remember it wrong. Lan Fengjin's face was also filled with shock. Her eyes revealed a look of fear. This Cloud Dragon mountain range is hiding a dragon. It seems like it's not a legend. Let's wait and see. We'll leave after the sound is gone. Zi Qingqing let out a long sigh. I hope we don't meet them or we'll be killed by the dragon. How strong is the dragon? Just as Qin Yun finished asking, the dragon's roar suddenly sounded out. This time, the sound was even stronger, causing the leaves to shake. Zi Qingqing said solemnly, I don't know. In short, it's very strong. It's definitely not something I can deal with. I don't know what's going on, but there really is a dragon. A beast of this level should not appear here. The dragon's roar continued, but it gradually weakened. Chapter 349. Immortal Tomb. I didn't look at the day before I left. Why am I so unlucky? A real dragon has appeared in the Cloud Dragon mountain range. Zi Qingqing muttered worriedly. Qin Yun was also somewhat alarmed. The commotion just now was not small. They could clearly sense the dragon's aura, bringing with it a very hot wind. More than 2 hours had passed. Zi Qingqing said with some joy, I don't think I've heard any dragon roars in these 2 hours. Could it be that the dragon has gone far away? Lan Fengjin took out a set of blue armor and quickly put it on in the carriage, wrapping around her voluptuous body. It looks like it won't be easy for us to pass through the Cloud Dragon mountain range. Lan Fengjin was also prepared for battle. Qin Yun sighed and said, I hope we can reach the Martial Desolate safely. Although Sister Lan and I are both in the Martial Dao realm, the Cloud Dragon mountain range is becoming more and more restless. There are more and more powerful things. Zi Qingqing thought for a moment and said, We won't be flying in the air. We'll be in the forest and walk through the Cloud Dragon mountain range. This will be safer. It's easier to be discovered by the dragon in the air. Qin Yun and Lan Fengjin nodded. Zi Qingqing was at the spirit realm. Even if she encountered a very strong demon beast, she would be able to deal with it. After they walked out of the carriage, Zi Qingqing put away the carriage and quickly ran through the forest. Inside, there were many poisonous insects, snakes, flowers and thorns. However, to Martial Dao realm cultivators they were nothing. Only powerful magical beasts or demon beasts could pose a threat to them. As Zi Qingqing ran, she said in a low voice, As far as I know, there are quite a few powerful warriors who have entered the Martial Desolate Land. During this period of time, there has been some movement in the Immortal Graveyard, which is why many people have come to investigate. Movement? Could it be that the Immortal Graveyard has been discovered? Lan Fengjin said in surprise. I don't know yet. It's just that the Feng Shui Grandmaster saw some clues and said that the immortal tomb inside has attracted the heaven and earth Yuan Qi or something. Zi Qingqing shook her head. In short, What did the Feng Shui grandmasters say? Qin Yun was somewhat worried that someone would find the immortal graveyard because it contained a secret regarding Xie Qiru. Furthermore, the souls of him, Xiao Yuelon and Qi Meilian's mother were all in the immortal graveyard. Rumor has it that after crossing the Cloud Dragon River, we will reach the area of the immortal graveyard. Qin Yun said. There is indeed such a saying. This area belongs to the immortal graveyard, but no one knows where the real immortal graveyard is. Zi Qingqing said, legend has it that this place was originally a desolate land. Later on, it was built into a huge cemetery and became the Cloud Dragon Mountain Range. Qin Yun and company ran in the forest for 2 days. They only rested for 4 to 6 hours a day. They also encountered some magical beasts and demonic beasts, all of which were spirit-level magical beasts and demonic beasts. However, the moment Zi Qingqing released the aura of the spirit martial realm, those magical beasts were scared away. At noon, after Qin Yun and company rested, they continued running. Suddenly, Zi Qingqing shouted, "Stop, there's someone in front." Qin Yun and Lan Fengjin did not discover anyone in front of them. This made them immediately vigilant. They took out their weapons and prepared to fight. In this forest, the trees were all 200 to 300 meters tall. They were extremely dense and blocked out the sunlight, causing the forest to be damp and a cool breeze to blow. It was quite surprising to meet people in such a place. If a few powerful magical beasts jumped out, they wouldn't be surprised. Are they heading to the martial desolate land like us? Qin Yun said in a low voice. Zi Qingqing's expression was solemn. It could be seen that the people in front of them were very strong. They've discovered us. Zi Qingqing took out a pair of long hooks and prepared to fight. If the other party is very strong, I'll drag them down. You guys just need to run. As soon as she finished speaking, 10 people appeared and surrounded them. Qin Yun and Lan Fengjin were immediately alarmed. These 10 or so people were all at the spirit realm. Furthermore, most of them looked middle-aged. This meant that their talent was not bad, and they had long stepped into the spirit realm. Isn't this Zi Qingqing? A middle-aged man in black armor smiled and said, Your Violet Spirit Star Palace has been destroyed? Why did you come to this place by yourself? Zi Qingqing put away the long hooks in her hands and her expression eased up quite a bit. It was as if she knew all of these people. There are dragons here. You guys should know, right? Aren't you afraid of attracting the dragon by gathering together and releasing your aura? Qin Yun sized up the people at the spirit realm. There were 7 men and 3 women, and they all looked middle-aged. In the spirit realm, there were relatively few people like Zi Qingqing who maintained their youthful appearance. Of course we know. A red-clothed woman looked at Zi Qingqing with a trace of jealousy in her eyes and said, We found that immortal tomb. We are searching everywhere to make sure that the dragon is not nearby. Qin Yun's heart skipped a beat. The immortal tomb had actually been found. Really? Zi Qingqing asked in surprise. Isn't this too easy? What, you want to go? No way. We spent a lot of effort to find it. The red-clothed woman sneered. A gray-robed middle-aged man took out a spatial communication pearl as if he was communicating with someone. Master Wang said that they can go over, the gray-robed middle-aged man said. Following that, Zi Qingqing led Qin Yun and Lan Fengjin over. On the way, Qin Yun also learned that these 10 people came from a few Xian sections. In the Xian sects, they could only be considered disciples. From this, it could be seen how terrifying the strength of a Xian sect was. Qin Yun was very worried. He did not wish for the immortal tomb to be opened right now. He was afraid that it would affect Xie Qiru's plans. They followed the group of people at the spirit realm and ran for more than half a day before arriving at a tall mountain. It was night time, but from the mountain, one could see that there was a huge crater that was thousands of meters wide below. In the middle of the crater was a huge golden pagoda that was hundreds of meters wide and over 100 meters tall. The most terrifying thing was that this golden pagoda was completely red, as if it had been dyed red by something. A burly man said, "There were originally many mountains here, but they were all moved away by us. Furthermore, with our combined efforts, we dug out a huge pit and revealed this immortal tomb." Qin Yun sighed inwardly. Has the immortal graveyard really been found? Doesn't that mean that the immortal graveyard diagram on me is useless? Zi Qingqing said with a frown. Is it because you guys dug out this immortal tomb that you attracted a dragon? Lan Fengjin also asked. There should be a very strong tomb guardian beast or something like that here. The dragon appeared very early. There were some tomb guardian beasts, but they were all ghost beasts and we killed them. Go down, Wang Tianshi said. He wants to see you. The middle-aged man in the lead said. Qin Yun also saw that there were a few houses on the side of the huge pit that was thousands of meters wide. This kind of house could be considered a spirit artifact. Because it was refined by a weapon refiner, it could become big or small and was very convenient to carry around. This kind of house was also very expensive, and not just anyone could have one. Zi Qingqing said in a low voice. An operation of this scale can only be done by the combined forces of at least a few Xian sects. That's right. The Moon Profound Valley is also participating. The middle-aged man said with a smile. Zi Qingqing, are you very excited to be able to see the immortal tomb with your own eyes? However, you don't have a share in it. You can only watch from the outside. Qin Yun never expected that he would meet a dragon halfway through the martial desolate land, and then meet a group of people who had found the immortal tomb. Now, he had seen this immortal tomb with his own eyes. At night, the moonlight was pleasant and the stars were resplendent. The golden pagoda flickered with a bright red light as if it was absorbing the light of the stars and moon. It looked demonic and frightening. Qin Yun and company also arrived at a house and sat in a very spacious hall. Very quickly, many people appeared in the hall. Among them, there were a few elders with the most terrifying strength. That kind of pressure was far above the spirit realm. Qin Yun now had a clearer understanding of the power of the Xian rank powers in the martial desolate land. Those few elders were at the Xian realm. When these few elders came out, the others all bowed in greeting. Only after they sat down on their chairs could everyone stand up straight. Even martial artists in the spiritual martial realm had to be respectful to these old men. Qin Yun also realized that in the hall, only he and Lan Fengjin were in the martial Dao realm. Other than the few in the Xian realm, the other 20 or so people were all in the spirit realm. Among them, a long-bearded old man wearing an 8 trigrams Taoist robe walked towards Qin Yun. Then, he circled around Qin Yun and nodded repeatedly. His face was filled with pleasant surprise. Wang Tianshi, how is it? A skinny old man at the Xian realm asked. Not bad, not bad, Wang Tianshi said with a bright smile. Qin Yun felt his hair stand on end. He did not know what Wang Tianshi was looking at. Zi Qingqing and Lan Fengjin, on the other hand, were extremely worried. At this moment, Zi Qingqing regretted following them. Seniors, what's so special about this kid? Zi Qingqing asked softly. We just so happen to be lacking sacrifices. We need a martial Dao realm boy. It's very hard to find. I didn't expect you to send it over. Wang Tianshi chuckled. Qin Yun hurriedly cursed in his heart before saying, Senior, I'm almost 20 years old. I'm no longer a child. It doesn't matter. It's fine as long as it's a boy. Kid, you're not bad. You're already in the martial Dao realm at such a young age. Furthermore, you're so dutiful. Wang Tianshi was very happy as he patted Qin Yun on the shoulder with a chuckle. Senior, sacrifice. Do you want me to die? Qin Yun was taken aback as he asked. Wang Tianshi nodded. Qin Yun immediately cursed in his heart as he hurriedly said, Senior, you know that I'm not even 20 years old, and I'm already in the martial Dao realm. This is not easy, Zi Qingqing also hurriedly said. Senior, he is a very good martial arts genius," Wang Tianshi said with a smile. "This kind of talent is not bad, but it can still be found in the martial desolate land. So, I'll have to wrong him. After this, I'll give you some compensation." Zi Qingqing was enraged as her face turned cold. "Don't touch him. You bastards, even if I, Zi Qingqing, die, I will fight you all to the death." Chapter 350. The Dragon is Here. Amongst the few old men at the Xian martial realm, an old woman with a walking stick suddenly stood up and said, "Brothers, please give me, old lady do, some face and let this brat go." When Zi Qingqing saw that old lady Du had stepped forward, she was very grateful. However, she did not dare to look up. "Old Madame Du, although your moon profound valley has contributed quite a bit, but this is the key. You have to know that young geniuses of the martial Dao realm are better, but it is very rare to find a martial Dao realm cultivator who still maintains a child's body." An old man at the Xian realm sneered, "Once we break through the immortal tomb, if we can obtain an immortal pill, we might be able to step into the martial king realm." Qin Yun cursed the entire family of these people in his heart. He also felt that there was no justice in this world. He had clearly kept his place and maintained his body as a child, but in the end, he had become the best sacrifice. "Old Madame Du, this is none of your moon profound valley's business. When the immortal tomb opens, you can follow us in. Please leave." A black-clothed old man holding a black heavy sword stood up and said with a stern voice. Although old Madame Du was at the Xian realm, she was the only one who helped Zi Qingqing. From this, it could be seen that her relationship with Zi Qingqing was not bad. Wang Tianshi said, "Today is the night of the full moon and the yin qi is slightly heavy. It is more suitable for sacrifice now. If we open the immortal tomb, we will be able to reap great rewards tonight." "You bullshit heavenly master, don't speak nonsense. Qin Yun. Qin Yun is my husband, you are not allowed to sacrifice him. Otherwise, I will self-destruct my Dao core and perish together with all of you." Zi Qingqing was anxious as she cursed angrily. Qin Yun and Lan Fengjin were also taken aback. In order to save someone, Zi Qingqing had actually thrown caution to the wind. Self-destruct? The sword-wielding old man flashed over in an instant. It was unknown when his sword had been unsheathed and was stabbing towards Zi Qingqing's throat. Old Madame Du coldly snorted as she hurriedly struck the sword with her cane. With a dang sound, the sword was opened with a crisp sound. The speed of the two of them was so fast that it was impossible to catch them. "Old Madame Du, if you continue to obstruct us, I guarantee that all 100 disciples of your moon profound valley will be buried here," the old man holding the sword said angrily. "Jian Xuanzi, as the sect leader of the Sword Profound Mountain, are you openly declaring war on our moon profound valley by saying such words?" Old Madame Du shouted coldly. "The opening of the immortal graveyard is beneficial to both of us. Wasn't it just sacrificing a little brat? Is there a need for us to go to war?" A skinny old man sneered. The other Xian martial realm old men also voiced their agreement and expressed their determination to sacrifice Qin Yun. Qin Yun's heart was dripping with blood. How dare he look down on his life like that? He, Qin Yun, had gone through many hardships to achieve his current achievement. But now, he was going to be sacrificed. What infuriated him the most was that this group of powerful cultivators from the prestigious sects looked down on his life. "Old Madame Du, I'm sorry." A Xian realm cultivator condensed a ball of light mist in his palm, as if he was preparing for a big battle. The other Xian martial realm cultivators are also ready to fight. Old Madame Du was alone. She had no chance of winning against a few people at the Xian martial realm. Wang Tianshi was the fastest to act. He captured Qin Yun through the air and placed him in a golden cage. Zi Qingqing was infuriated. Her face was filled with killing intent as the energy of her Tao core surged. She planned to go all out and self-destruct her own Tao core. Old Madame Du did not expect Wang Tianshi to move so quickly. It was too late to save Qin Yun now. She hurriedly took out a pagoda and stored Lan Fengjin and Zi Qingqing inside. Let's go, we'll be able to open the immortal graveyard soon. Save some strength to seize the immortal treasure. Wang Tianshi laughed out loud. He used his mental power to lift the cage and walked out of the hall. Old Madame Du clenched her fists tightly and sighed helplessly. At this point, there was nothing she could do. She could only protect Zi Qingqing. The other elders of the Xian realm also laughed and followed him out. The warriors of the spirit realm all heaved a sigh of relief. If a great battle broke out between the elders of the Xian realm, not only would it affect them, it would also attract the dragon. You bunch of old beasts, you are all a bunch of bastards. What kind of bullshit Jian Xuanzi are you? You're from the Sword Profound Mountain, right? Just you wait, your Sword Profound Mountain and I will not rest until one of us is dead. And you beast Wang Tianshi, what sect are you from? If you have the guts, tell me. Inside the cage, Qin Yun was also sealed by waves of energy. He was unable to mobilize the inner force of his Tao core. Brat, I'll let you scold me to your heart's content now. You're going to die soon anyway. Wang Tianshi laughed out loud. You bunch of old beasts, old bastards, old dogs. Qin Yun cursed out all sorts of profanities, causing Wang Tianshi and the other Xian realm cultivators to be so angry that their faces twitched. No one had ever scolded them like this before. Furthermore, it was in front of so many disciples. There were thousands of sect disciples in that huge pit. They had all seen these experts of the Xian realm being cursed at by a brat. If not for the fact that Qin Yun was an extremely important offering, the few Xian realm cultivators would have killed him hundreds of times over. You bunch of naive pigs, do you really think that you can obtain treasures just by opening the immortal graveyard? Dream on. I'm afraid you won't have the life to get what's inside. Qin Yun was tied to a stone platform in front of the golden-shaped pagoda as he cursed non-stop. This stone platform was made of bronze and looked extremely ancient. This was the sacrificial altar, something that came with this giant pagoda. Many people were surrounding the sacrificial altar, waiting with incomparable anticipation. Wang Tianshi laughed. We need to release his blood. For a martial Tao realm like him, his blood is very special. It can cause the sacrificial altar to produce a special power and close the formation of the immortal graveyard. How can you sacrifice your grandpa? The consequences for you will be very miserable, your grandson who grew up eating shit. Qin Yun cursed angrily when he felt his wrist being cut open. Qin Yun's blood flowed out. The sacrificial altar seemed to have some sort of magical power as it constantly drew out the blood from his body. In order to prevent himself from losing too much blood and dying, he could only constantly consume the energy in his body and constantly produce blood. His blood was the blood of a heavenly lion. It was extraordinary. Seeing his heavenly lion's blood constantly flowing out, Qin Yun felt his heart ache. He could only curse those beasts. Am I really going to die? Qin Yun felt the sacrificial altar tremble as he felt despair in his heart. Roar. Suddenly, a dragon's roar could be heard. A glowing blue cloud appeared in the night sky, obscuring the moon and stars. Within the blue clouds, a huge dragon's body could be faintly discernible. The dragon had appeared. Furthermore, it was a light blue dragon. Its body was several hundred meters long, and it was extremely huge. It soared through the clouds and covered the sky. Ha ha! You guys must have suffered retribution. The dragon is here, the dragon is here. You bunch of grandsons, let out my blood, the dragon is here to kill you. When Qin Yun saw the few Xian realm elders, their faces were filled with fear. He could not help but laugh out loud. The moment old Madame Du heard the dragon's roar, she hurriedly flew away. A Xian realm martial artist, after encountering a dragon, had actually fled in panic. Boom! The scarlet golden pagoda suddenly cracked open. When the immortal tomb opened, the dragon appeared as well. Qin Yun was still tied to the sacrificial altar, unable to move. Lying on the sacrificial altar, he could clearly see the gigantic dragon in the sky. The dragon's might pressed down, causing the earth to tremble. The disciples of the martial Dao realm hurriedly led the other disciples of the martial body realm to evacuate. There were only a few seniors of the Xian realm and 20 to 30 warriors of the spirit realm watching. The sacrificial altar did not continue absorbing blood because the immortal tomb had already opened. The crack that appeared on the scarlet pagoda was several hundred meters wide, splitting the entire pagoda into two sides. In the middle of the pagoda was a bottomless hole. Wang Tianshi, what's going on? Why is the immortal tomb like this? And that dragon, why did it suddenly appear here? Jian Xuanzi hurriedly asked. He was also prepared to evacuate, but when he saw the opened immortal tomb, he was extremely reluctant. Wang Tianshi said with a frown, I don't know. The situation of this immortal tomb is somewhat different from what I expected. Qin Yun secretly admired the courage of these fellows. He hurriedly shouted, Hurry up and let me go. The immortal tomb has already opened and the dragon above is about to come down. Aren't you going to run? Brat, you have to continue staying there. The time limit for the sacrifice is 24 hours. Only when the sacrificial altar devours your flesh and blood will it be considered a success, Wang Tianshi said. Jian Xuanzi looked at the dragon in the sky and said, This guy only dares to circle around it. He doesn't dare to come down. It looks like he's afraid of something inside the immortal tomb. Haha, we don't have to be afraid of this dragon. Let's continue. Wang Tianshi laughed loudly. The immortal tomb has just been opened. It has been filled with Yin energy and death energy for many years. It's also very dangerous. Let's wait for a while before entering. The dragon in the air danced and roared. It did not come down, nor did it attack. The originally pitch-black ground was now illuminated by the light blue clouds in the sky. Qin Yun could no longer feel any more blood flowing. He also found it strange that the sacrificial altar did not seem to continue absorbing blood. In other words, the sacrifice was over. This immortal tomb is really powerful. Even dragons are afraid of the things hidden inside. What exactly is it? Jian Xuanzi's old eyes were filled with fanaticism and excitement as he looked at the huge, pitch-black tomb of the immortal tomb. The tomb was filled with black gas, emitting a bitter yin qi. It was filled with a sinister aura, even though it was very frightening. However, those at the Xian martial realm were not afraid. Wang Tianshi also said that this was a normal phenomenon. The sacrificial altar that Qin Yun was at was the closest to the tomb. He could feel the terrifying evil energy within the tomb the most. That power was gradually getting stronger. Qin Yun did not know why, but the totem on his heavenly lion arm was extremely manic. Suddenly, black gas gushed out from the huge tomb and shot straight into the sky, blowing away the thick blue cloud. Roar! A low, deep, and sinister roar shook out from the deep pit. Beneath the tomb, there was actually a huge beast, and it was extremely terrifying. When Qin Yun heard the roar, he was even more shocked. That was because he could tell what kind of beast it was. Chapter 351. Ghost Lion King. Previously, Qin Yun and Xiao Yuemei had encountered a golden fire lion beside the Cloud Dragon River. The giant lion had said that their clan was responsible for guarding the immortal graveyard or something. When he thought of this matter, he didn't find it strange. He was only surprised that there was such a powerful heavenly lion hidden in the immortal tomb. Impossible, impossible! Wang Tianshi kept shaking his head and said, This immortal tomb has existed for tens of thousands of years. It's impossible for there to be anything alive inside. Furthermore, it's such a powerful beast. The dragon circling in the night sky was also roaring non-stop. The earth suddenly shook and a black shadow flew out from the tomb. It was indeed a heavenly lion. However, its entire body was pitch black and compared to the dragon, it was much smaller. It was only a few dozen meters long. However, this black heavenly lion was extremely brave and fierce. As soon as it flew out, it used the heavenly lion's roar at the dragon in the sky. The explosive roar shook the world. The ground around the tomb immediately rose and fell like a monstrous wave. Those at the Xian martial realm all had faces full of fear. This kind of terrifying power seemed to be able to destroy the world. Qin Yun, who was lying on the sacrificial altar, felt his blood boil as he watched. This was the authentic heavenly lion's roar. It was terrifying to the extreme. It's the Ghost Lion King, the legendary heavenly lion from the immortal graveyard. It has now turned into a ghost beast. Wang Tianshi shouted in shock. The Ghost Lion King flew high into the sky and waved its claws, transforming them into a huge black claw that was more than 100 meters long. It grabbed at the dancing dragon. It was the heavenly lion fighting Dragon Claw. This Ghost Lion King was fighting with the dragon. Roar! Roar! The dragon was not to be outdone. It used its tail to sweep the Ghost Lion King. At the same time, it constantly roared and spat out lightning from its mouth. As the Ghost Lion King roared, it also spat out a black flame that attacked the lightning. The battle between the dragon and lion seemed to shake the heavens and earth. It was extremely intense. While the Ghost Lion King is holding back that dragon, we have to hurry up and go in. Wang Tianshi hurriedly shouted. Although Jian Xuanzi was terrified of the strength of the dragon and the Ghost Lion King, their passion for immortal treasures made them fearless. They all rushed towards the tomb. However, just as they were about to rush over, a golden light suddenly shot out from the huge tomb. An immortal treasure has appeared? Jian Xuanzi cried out in surprise. Sure enough, something suddenly flew out from the tomb. It was a cauldron that was burning with golden flames. It was several meters tall. After it flew out, it gradually shrank until it was only 2 meters tall. It was a square cauldron with 4 heavenly lion heads, and the body of the cauldron was engraved with heavenly lion totem carvings. The ears of the cauldron were also 2 heavenly lion heads with their mouths open. When Qin Yun saw the cauldron, he immediately felt a sense of regret. Of course he could tell that this was an extremely powerful cauldron. However, it was going to fall into the hands of Jian Xuanzi and his group of bastards. It's the Heavenly Lion Dragon Suppression Cauldron. Wang Tianshi exclaimed, "Quickly get it over here!" Jian Xuanzi's face was filled with ecstasy. Using his own power, he condensed a purplish gold belt of light and wrapped it around the Dragon Suppression Cauldron. This is an ancient Tao artifact. Use your blood essence to refine it. Wang Tianshi hurriedly cut open his wrist and mixed his mental energy into his blood. He released it and injected it into the Dragon Suppression Cauldron. The other elders of the Xian martial realm also hurriedly let out their blood to refine it. Qin Yun, who was tied to the sacrificial altar, was extremely astonished. Although he was a high-ranked inscription master, he did not know that he needed to use such a method to subdue an ancient Tao artifact. A Tao artifact was above a Xian artifact. As for an ancient Tao artifact, it was even more terrifying. The refining techniques and various Tao runes used were all lost. Furthermore, there was a heavenly lion totem carved on the Dragon Suppression Cauldron. That was even more powerful. Even though we are letting out blood to refine it together, whoever bleeds more will have the Dragon Suppression Cauldron. Jian Xuanzi said coldly, if anyone obtains it, they are not allowed to snatch it. Everyone wanted to obtain the Dragon Suppression Cauldron. At this moment, they were desperately bleeding. The Dragon Suppression Cauldron floated in the air and continuously rotated. absorbing the blood of the Xian realm. The tomb had only just opened and such a thing had already flown out. It made people feel that there must be something else inside. Just as they were refining the dragon suppression cauldron, the scarlet pagoda that had split in the middle gradually closed. The immortal tomb was closed. "Don't worry, that little demon is still here." Wang Tianshi looked at Qin Yun and said with a chuckle, "It's a good thing we didn't kill him just now. Otherwise, it would have been difficult to open the immortal tomb." Whoosh! The dragon suppression cauldron suddenly trembled and a scorching gale burst out. As it spun, it constantly shot out balls of flames that flew everywhere. Suddenly, the lid of the dragon suppression cauldron opened and a large red ball of fire surged out from within. "Be careful! The dragon suppression cauldron is attacking us. This guy is a Tao artifact, it has its own consciousness," Jian Xuanzi shouted. The ball of red flame flew out and towards the sacrificial altar. "Not good, it's going to destroy the sacrificial altar. It's going to destroy the only way to enter the tomb." Just as Wang Tianshi finished speaking, the ball of fire smashed towards Qin Yun. Boom! A large wave of fire surged out, destroying the sacrificial altar and causing a fiery and stiff rock to fly out. "The sacrificial altar and the little demon are gone," Jian Xuanzi said in shock. "The sacrificial altar is so sturdy, but it was blown up in an instant." The most shocked person was still Wang Tianshi. Jian Xuanzi said, "Let's not worry about it for now. Let's take down the dragon suppression cauldron first." At this moment, the other spirit martial realm warriors also joined in. They released their blood essence to suppress the irritable dragon suppression cauldron. Qin Yun was struck by the ball of flames, but he did not feel any injuries. Instead, he was wrapped up by the ball of flames and flew far away with the ferocious force. "I'm saved." Qin Yun was lying in a crack in the ground. At that moment, he was still in the huge pit where the gigantic tower was. He fell into the crack that had been torn out. Qin Yun touched his body and was extremely astonished. "Motherf *Ker, that's not a flame but the artifact soul of the dragon suppression cauldron. That's the most important thing in a Tao artifact, and it actually flew out by itself." He looked at his own Nether Sun Tao core. The artifact's soul was in the shape of a small cauldron, hiding inside his Tao core. Even if they obtained the dragon suppression cauldron, without the artifact's soul, it would only be a relatively sturdy piece of iron. Qin Yun was secretly delighted as he crawled out of the crack. The Ghost Lion King and the dragon were still engaged in an intense battle, causing the world to be enveloped by all sorts of loud noises. The violent shaking of the earth did not stop at all. Qin Yun crawled out of the crack and saw Jian Xuanzi smiling. That was because he had obtained the dragon suppression cauldron. "Let's leave first. Regardless of whether the Ghost Lion King wins or the dragon wins, they will come to deal with us." Wang Tianshi's expression was solemn as he looked at the battle between the dragon and lion in the distant sky. Jian Xuanzi hurriedly took out a large piece of beast skin and spread it out with many people. With a single glance, Qin Yun knew that it was a teleportation array. This guy actually has such a thing. No wonder they are so calm. Qin Yun cursed softly. He hated Wang Tianshi and Jian Xuanzi to the bone. They had captured him to be a sacrifice. Jian Xuanzi and the others at the Xian martial realm, and more than 20 at the spirit martial realm, were all standing on that huge piece of beast skin. "Let's inject energy together and activate the teleportation array." 1, 2, 3. Jian Xuanzi shouted. When Qin Yun saw that the teleportation array was about to open, he hurriedly took out a spirit realm Tao core and flew into the air. "Look, it's that brat, he's not dead," an old man at the spirit realm shouted. "That's great, catch him. We might be able to use it in the future," Wang Tianshi said in pleasant surprise. "Go to hell, you bunch of beasts." Qin Yun threw the spirit realm Dao core in his hand with all his might. Because of the great battle between the dragon and lion in the sky, the aura in the world was tyrannical. Therefore, they could not sense that it was a Dao core. They had no idea what was flying towards them. When the Dao core approached, Jian Xuanzi hurriedly cried out in alarm, "It's a spirit realm Dao core, it's about to explode." As for Qin Yun, he hurriedly activated his blue spirit profound robe and used teleportation meteor steps to leave the crater. Boom! A loud explosion erupted from within the crater. The energy wave spread out for a radius of 100 miles, causing a large amount of dust to fly everywhere, filling the sky. Qin Yun was also sent flying far away by the shockwave. Fortunately, he ran fast and was not at the core of the explosion. He was not injured at all. After the intense explosion, Jian Xuanzi, Wang Tianshi and company were all near the huge crater. They floated in the air and looked at the huge crater that had collapsed beside the Scarlet Tower. Their faces were filled with shock. That little bastard actually has a spirit realm Dao core in his hands. How did he get it? Wang Tianshi was fine, but he was also in a sorry state. As for those at the spirit realm, they were more or less injured. Fortunately, a few Xian realm warriors protected them in time. However, that precious teleportation array had been blown to pieces. Jian Xuanzi roared, "My ancestral teleportation array! I want to skin that brat alive!" Roar! For some reason, the Ghost Lion King suddenly stopped fighting with the dragon and charged down. This scared the Xian realm warriors to the point that they covered their heads and fled in all directions. Now that the Ghost Lion King was here, they ran as fast as they could. The warriors of the spirit martial realm were all complaining bitterly because those at the Xian realm were running very fast, and they could not catch up at all. "That little bastard, he's killed us! Damned brat, he destroyed the teleportation array and even alarmed the Ghost Lion King. If not, we would have already returned safely. If this brat is still alive, I must get even with him." The powerful martial artists who were fleeing were all cursing Qin Yun in their hearts. Qin Yun, who was fleeing, was also cursing the group of martial artists in his heart. He had almost been tormented to death by the sacrifice. In order to take revenge, he had only thrown away a Dao core. Qin Yun ran through the forest for a few days before gradually distancing himself from the immortal tomb. He was only at the martial Dao realm. It was still somewhat dangerous for him to travel alone, but he could not care too much about it. At that moment, the sky was dark. Qin Yun used the shadow power in the night to quickly travel. Thankfully, Zi Qingqing had previously told him a direction, allowing him to know where the martial desolate land was. Traveling at night was the safest for him because the shadow power allowed him to hide in the darkness. When it was almost dawn, Qin Yun was planning to rest when he realized that the artifact's soul within the Nether Sun Dao core was trembling slightly. Could it be? The Heavenly Lion Dragon Suppression Cauldron is nearby? This cauldron was obtained by that old bastard Jian Xuanzi. Is he nearby? You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.